This is the Patriots Pregame Show, fueled by Duncan.
He's throwing it toward corner of the end zone. Caught! Touchdown New England!
The Patriots Pregame Show is your source for all the news and information before every game.
He took it to the house! Again!
Here we
and
go!
The Patriots take the lead!
With Matt Smith, Mike Dussault, Paul Perillo, and Tamara Brown.
And the Patriots have won their 6th Super Bowl title.
Patriots Nation, welcome to the Patriots Pregame Show, fueled by Duncan.
And good afternoon and welcome to Week 4 here inside Gillette Stadium for Patriots Pregame Show, fueled by Duncan. Matt Smith, Paul Perillo, Mike Dussault, Tamara Brown here to break it down, analyze as we get ready for the Patriots playing out west in, is it Santa Clara or San Jose, Paul?
I think it's Santa Clara.
I think it's Santa Clara, right? Yeah, in Santa Clara, where I understand the weather is a nice 75 degrees, no precipitation expected today.
Beautiful.
So it's all, the deck is ready to go for the Patriots as they try to bounce back after their loss against the Jets. And against a formidable foe, who's coming off 2 losses themselves at home. I don't think that Levi Stadium is exactly mile-high stadium from a crowd standpoint, but I think the Niners are going to be ready to play.
You would think so. I mean, that's what you got to expect for. It's pretty much at full strength other than, McCaffrey, who's obviously on IR. So no break with Debo or Kittle. Maybe they're limited a little bit, but the Patriots should expect to get the full strength of an angry 49ers team that's lost 2 in a row and wants to get back on track on home.
Yeah, I would agree with Mike. They look like the Niners, being they, obviously. They're at least starting to get some guys back. They lose Hargrave for the year. That's a huge blow for them in the middle.
Terrific player.
And specifically, if you look back at what the Patriots' problems were against the Jets, it was up front, it was in the middle, with Quinn and Williams. So that is a significant loss. But it looks like Kittle is back, and it looks like they're going to get Debo Samuel back too. Like Mike said, some of those guys coming back makes the task a little bit more difficult.
Yeah, and I was going to say, even if, Debo is limited, considering this will be his first game back, I really like Juwan Jennings and what he brings to the table. Watching them last week versus the Rams, he was a guy who I wasn't really familiar with, and so watching him play, he was very strong, very fast, hard to take down, and especially with the Patriots coming off a game where they missed 14 missed tackles, he's a guy I would be scared or worried about going into this one.
And so we're coming up on about 45 minutes till the inactive lists come out. Tamara, I know you'll be all over that, but I think there's a couple of key names to watch as we're talking about the Patriots defense. Jonathan Jones and Anthony Jennings jump off the list to me, and let's see what their status is, because I think both those guys would be more than useful in trying to slow down the 49er attack.
Absolutely. I think, I initially think of Jonathan Jones, especially because they've been trying to manage him and putting in Marco Wilson and Alex Austin, who Alex Austin is now on IR. And so if Jonathan Jones isn't at full strength and you have to rely on Marco Wilson, that doesn't make me feel too great. And so I'm hoping that, Jonathan Jones is able to go today and they don't have to rely on a guy like Wilson.
Yeah, I just say Isaiah Bolden got called up, so he's on the 53-man roster now, and he's a guy that was kind of in that mix with Austin and Wilson. We've talked a lot about Austin and Wilson, kind of went back and forth all summer.
Maybe a peg down, Mike?
Yeah, maybe a little peg down, yeah. And I mean, if he got some time in the slot, felt like they were trying to feel him out a little bit, but a little bit better size. I mean, he's a size, strength kind of a guy. Was a good kickoff returner. So we'll see. I mean, to Tamara's point, they're going to need everybody today in the secondary to defend all these weapons.
And that Shanahan stretch run that they're going to have to defend. Jennings certainly, would be more than useful in a situation like that for somebody else to help try to set the edge.
Yeah, I think that's huge because they have a hard time setting the edge in general.
Correct.
And he's one guy that is really, really good at it. In Anthony Jennings, he's more of a run player. So to be missing him in a game like this, I think is not ideal, as you kids like to say.
No, and even with a shoulder injury, that's a really important part of setting the edge and of him going against Trent Williams. I mean, that's a tough matchup. You want to have every bit of your strength when you're going against a guy like that. So yeah, we'll see how those guys.
He's another guy banged up for the Niners. Always, Mike. I taught you this. Yeah. Right. I taught you. What did I teach you? Beware the guy who pops onto the injury report during the week. That means something happened at practice. Yeah. And that's what happened to Trent Williams. All of a sudden, a toe injury, which can be. I know that probably people are like NFL players, but they can be very significant, especially for offensive linemen.
All right, so as we set the table here, talking about the inactive list that's coming up in a little while and who to keep an eye out for, let's get started with the keys to the game, Matt.
You've waited all week for it.
The whole team's in the locker room right now just listening to this, waiting to hear what you're going to say.
Here are the Patriots pregame socials, keys to the game.
Oh, the key is returned. It hath returned.
Did you need those keys?
This is the key to the game.
That's the key to the game. Your key is the key to the game. I like it.
This is the key.
I like it. All right.
The winner gets it
okay.
every week.
Not the key.
It's otherwise known as the Paul Perillo key. But, I mean, theoretically, someone else could win it from time to time.
Okay.
Yeah. Paul's walking around like Mr. T with it around.
So is that like a WWE belt or something like
Correct.
that?
Right.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
I like it.
Yes.
Right.
I like
we haven't
it.
done it in the last couple of weeks, but we gotta get back.
Oh,
on it.
yeah.
I thought we lost it.
Thought you lost,
It's
you buddy.
my fault. I forgot to bring it in there.
All
Because
right.
it was behind you, Mike, for a
So
while.
if you get it, does that mean you kick things off? Why don't you kick things off?
I'll kick things off. I don't think I got it last week, though. But I will say I think it's really, really important for the Patriots to get some belief immediately in this game. They're the underdogs. They're the biggest underdog on the board at 10.5 or whatever it ended up being. This is going to be a tall task. They need to start fast, Matt. I think they need to have some success early in this game and establish that they're not just going to continue the way they played against the Jets. I think the first quarter today is really, really important.
Mm-hmm.
I think I couldn't agree with you more. And I think I would sort of echo what you're saying there, Paul, in a little bit and punch back. You know? I don't think the expectations are high this week, but let's determine who this Patriots team is. A lot of talk. You guys were in the locker room all week, you know? That wasn't us.
Mm-hmm.
That's not who we are on
Yep.
both the defensive and the offensive side. So let's see it today. Punch back.
Yeah.
Punch back. And again, against a opponent with a much better roster than you, you deserve to at least punch back and tell them that you're there. That's what I want to see out of this team today.
It's great.
Yeah.
That's
My
Tamara,
next-
ladies first. Sure.
Yeah, kind of piggybacking off what Matt Smith just said, last week wasn't who they are. And so my key to the game is look in the mirror. I want them to look in the mirror and get back to playing Patriots ball. If you want your formula to be playing tough defense, running the football, and not turning the ball over, last week none of those things were great. Ramondre Stevenson wasn't great. Honestly, the defense wasn't great. 14 missed tackles. You know, I mentioned that. And so I think that if they can get back to playing who they are, and I like how Gerard Mayo said Monday, they just focused on them. If they can get back to focusing on them and not beating themselves, I think that could be huge today.
Yeah, I like everything you guys are saying. I mean, I think it echoes the theme of this being a team in week 3 that's, or week 4, it's kind of a turning point. And you've, saw a good game the first week, second game played better, played okay, didn't get the win, and then last week it was pretty rough. So mine is just put it all together. Everything you guys said is correct. Paul, start fast, no turnovers. We know what the formula is by this point. They've got to be able to put it all together. We'll see what team they are. I mean, they want to tell us in the locker room we're more the week 1 team than the week 3 team. I mean, that's where a lot of teams are watching these early games going right now. Teams are establishing who they really are at this point as other opponents get film on you, start to understand what you're trying to do. This is where things kind of start to separate a little bit. And the good teams and the talented teams and the teams that are playing tough are the ones that really start to pull ahead. So put it all together. We know all the different elements that they need to do to win this game. I just hope even in defeat, maybe that they're scrappy, like you said, Matt. Punch back, show some fight. I went back and looked at that 2020 game against this team, and it looked like Kyle Shanahan had a total beat on this offense. There was really nothing, defense. There was nothing really the Patriots defense in 2020, albeit a very beleaguered crew, could do to really slow this offense down. So they got to find something new this time around, and that's what I'm interested to see schematically how they kind of approach it.
I want to follow up with you guys because you were in the locker room this week, and I think very loudly the message was, came out. That wasn't us. We're different. How did you guys take that? Are you buying? Or is it more of a, well, let's prove it. Let's see what happens. Talk's talk. Let's see what they do in the field.
I would say, sorry, let me jump just quick.
Yeah.
I would just say, I think that they're better than they should put on tape that Thursday night. I don't know how much better they are. I mean, some of it, the missed tackle kind of stuff, the playing with lack of discipline, those things sometimes happen early in the season. But at the same time, I don't know if they're necessarily the team that can execute the week 1 game week after week after week. That's a really hard road to play. So I don't think they're that team from week 1 or week 3, but they just need to find, what team they really are. And hopefully it's a team that has some explosiveness to it and isn't a team that needs to walk the narrow path to victory every single week.
Yeah, I think from talking to Kyle Duggar specifically, he seemed like that wasn't who they were last week. Like listening to him talk after he became captain with Juwan Bentley going on IR, he seemed like that wasn't the team we were last week. They liked nothing that they saw on tape, and they didn't think it was a good reflection of who they are. And the word uncharacteristic was used, especially because this is a defense that's usually so tough not missing tackles like that. It just all seemed a team that's usually focused on their fundamentals. Their fundamentals were not great. There was nothing textbook about that Thursday night game.
Tamara mentions Duggar Paul, and I don't recall this happening. Obviously, injuries happened all along throughout the Belichick tenure. I don't remember him going out of his way to assign a new captain when a captain went down. I thought that was an interesting move.
Mayo said that he did that with him. They talked to him about it, right? He had said that Bill had spoken about replacing Gerard himself when one of the years that he was hurt. That they, he didn't mention specifically who the player was.
I don't know that it was necessarily public. I remember,
but it was. I mean, well, according to Gerard, anyway.
Right. I remember Gerard was allowed to be on the sideline in 2014 when he got hurt, and that was a big deal. And I think that might have been an inkling as to what Gerard Mayo's future might be, because he was helping out an awful lot on that 14 team that eventually went on and won the Super Bowl.
Yeah, but I think the story that Gerard, and correct me, Mike, if I have my signals crossed.
You're right.
He was saying that when he was no longer going to be on the active roster, Bill went to Gerard and said, "This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to replace you as a captain, not remove your captaincy, but I'm going to. I feel it's important that we have another guy." Filling your role as captain, and I think that's what he did.
So, do you like this with Duggar?
Sure. I mean, I don't know. They have their numbers. I think coaches are different in terms of how many captains they like to have. But if there's an amount of captains that coaches feel comfortable with, then I think it's important that you replace them.
Yeah, and I also think too, if Juwan Bentley isn't able to travel right now because of his rehab for his surgery, I think it could be good to actually have someone physically present and able to talk to the defense where Juwan Bentley usually would.
And I think as Duggar, with the extension that he signed in the offseason, his second contract that he earned, his role on the team and everything like that, seems like kind of a natural fit.
Yeah, and I think Covington said this week that it's really just about putting the C on his sweater. I mean, I think he's already kind of that leader. I think what I'm reading between the lines with some of the stuff Mayo said about it is that they want him to be more vocal. I mean, he's definitely a quiet guy, soft-spoken, certainly an intense guy, but nice little thing for him. I just hope we can improve some of the consistency with him, especially in coverage. This team needs him to be, a tone setter. We talk about them playing a little more coverage maybe this year. He's on the back end a little bit more. He needs to be a little bit better, I think, in coverage, and maybe this is something that, can help him continue to build towards rounding out his game.
As we saw what the Jets did with Conklin last week, and they attacked that area of the field with an allegedly healthy Kittle coming back, and they've also got issues on the boundary, as they like to say, with both Ayuk and Samuel. That's going to be a key spot, I think, for that defensive backfield, is to look at Kittles and see what how they try to attack them in the middle of the field, Mike.
Yeah, I mean, I just to go back to that 2020 game again. I just thought Jimmy G did an excellent job spreading the ball around, getting it to all those guys, and really without McCaffrey, it's kind of the same group. I think Ayuk was a rookie that year, but still, it's the same kind of core bunch of guys. I mean, they put 467 yards on the Patriots. They had 197 rushing yards. They were 4 for 5 in the red zone. I mean, it kind of reminded me of the Jets game last week against the Patriots, where they just couldn't really slow them down. It was just kind of touchdown. So I think it's absolutely everything is part of the problem today. And they had Juwan Bentley in that game. We'll see what they do to adjust. I'm sure DeMarcus Covington remembers what went down out there with no fans, too, which, by the way, is always just incredibly jarring to see those games again, celebrating, and there's no one in the stadium.
I feel like this will be also a big game for not letting your emotions get the best of you. I think there was a lot of reaction last week. I don't know if it was just the Jets, but Tavai, his penalty, that was also very uncharacteristic, for this defense. That was just very unnecessary. So it's on top of missing 14 tackles, and you're also tacking on 15-yard penalties with things that shouldn't be happening.
Yeah, I think they called it unnecessary roughness, actually. It definitely was not necessary.
Yeah.
No, I think
officially,
with the margin for error so slim, as you're saying, Mike, they can't afford for those giveaways.
No, and I mean, really, the dream is that they're starting to produce, and they start to produce big plays, and the passing game starts to be productive, and then then you have some wiggle room as far as mistakes, or the defense gets takeaways. That gives you some more wiggle room. You need those big plays. You need the takeaways if you're going to have, if it's not going to be this narrow path where no turnovers, fast start, good finish, minimal penalties. We can't hurt ourselves. All those different things that you feel like those boxes they need to check to get a win. They need to build in a little bit of flexibility into their style.
Yeah, and that's why I wanted to get back to the fast start. Whether or not well, this isn't us. This is, that wasn't us. That wasn't us. Well, it is you if you continue to play like that.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I think the fast start is really important. Because once you start establishing a pattern of play, like it's hard to just say, well, that was uncharacteristic of us.
You are what you are, right?
So if it's similarly, lopsided early on, then there's an argument to be made that is what you are.
Did you think they tried to get too cute last week in terms of the offense that they were running, or do you think that is the direction they should try to go again today?
I mean, I think they need to do. I think they need to throw the ball more effectively than they have. But obviously they haven't been able to do that.
It just feels like it's so dependent on the running game right now, and where they kind of avoided the running game. They weren't able to get it going on either way.
Let's get some perspective from behind enemy lines.
You know the view from New England, but what about the view from the other side?
And that's why you're our favorite pregame show guest every year.
You guys know you tell everybody that.
Oh, yeah.
I was on with you guys in 2018 Thursday Night Football, and I was told I was the favorite guest of the show.
Nope.
No.
Time now to go behind enemy lines.
My God, it's coming right for us.
And as we go behind enemy lines, we are pleased to be joined by Jennifer Lee Chan from NBCSports.com in the Bay Area. Jennifer, thank you very much for joining us, and I'll go right off the top and ask, what is the mood in the Bay Area with the San Francisco 49ers as they enter Week 4?
Well, I think there's definitely more panic outside the building than inside. It feels like there's kind of a calm, kind of purpose in the locker room. They know what they have to do. They know they've lost a couple games in a row, so they've got to get everything back on track. But there's definitely no sense of panic in the locker room at all.
Jennifer, just what's an overall health assessment? Some of the big players, I know Debo's expected to play, Kittle's expected to be back. Trent Williams having maybe an injury pop up this week. What do you get the sense with the injury situation with those three big players?
Yeah, I think they're all going to play. Trent Williams just walked in. It is their crucial tackle cancer week, so he had a nice ceremony with a bunch of cancer survivors as he walked the red carpet into the stadium. So he looks like he's ready to play. I think he will. It's a toe injury and illness for Trent Williams, but I think everybody else looked healthy as they walked in down the red carpet. Everybody looked like they were normal in game day mode.
Jennifer, is there any concern with the 49ers secondary and their ability to be able to close out games? I know last week watching the Rams game, it seemed like they were able to exploit that group a lot.
Yeah, there is always, I think, a transition period. Talanoa Hufanga came back from an ACL injury. And I think just his communication with Jair Brown needs to kind of be tightened up a little bit. And then Isaac Yiadom didn't have a great game. He's been in nickel situations. But Tarvarius Ward also coming back from a hamstring injury. It's guys that have been kind of out of the lineup and back in it. And their consistency and being able to play together is kind of, I think it's better. It'll be better after a week of practice together. But, yeah, there were definitely some communication issues last week.
I wanted to ask you about a different element of the defense up front and their ability to stop the run. Obviously, that's what the Patriots are going to want to do is run the football. That's really the only thing that they've had much success at offensively. How are the Niners, without Hargrave in the middle, how does that affect them stopping the run?
I think losing Hargrave is a huge one for the 49ers defensive front. Malik Collins has been playing well, but now it's Jordan Elliott and Malik Collins in the center. Hargrave really was the anchor in the center of that line. Nick Bosa and Vitor Gross-Matos, Leonard Floyd on the outside have always been pretty solid. But, yeah, I think that's the one area. If there was a chink in the armor, I think that is where the Patriots could really exploit it. If they could get the run game going, I think that'll be the way they could pull out a win here in Santa Clara. I think it's going to be tough. This group has been up and down, and I think this is really a prove-it game for the 49ers defense. And so if they can do it, they need to start early, stopping the run, making the Patriots offense one-dimensional.
Looking at the third phase, Jennifer, and I think the 49ers would probably say to a person they were did not play well in special teams last week, and really that helped pave victory for the Rams. I think the Patriots are probably looking at that as there an opportunity maybe to cash in a little bit on their special teams play. I would assume that was a point of emphasis for the 49ers staff and players this week.
Everything was a point of emphasis this week. They just did not play well in all three phases, but yes, you can't allow a 38-yard return. So if they can get a good return, that always flips the field position, which would be good for the Patriots. But yes, I'm sure they've been trying to tighten it up across the board in all three phases. They couldn't get the offense going with dropped passes. They had a lot of big explosives allowed by the Rams. And then the special teams, missed field goal, big returns. I mean, there's definitely ways that the Patriots could exploit all three phases if they have a really good game down here.
Sounds like shorts color was also a point of emphasis this week. But wanted to ask you, though, about just, Brock Purdy. A lot was on his shoulders last week. It still seems like he's off to a really good start.
I mean, he really is. He's just such a level-headed player, and, you see him in the locker room. He's such a great leader, which is why he was a captain at such a, young phase of his career. The fact that he didn't, no one threw Ronnie Bell under the bus for dropping the pass that could have led to a win last week in Los Angeles. And he went up to Ronnie Bell and said, hey, man, we've got your back. I know, it was a mistake, but you're going to get better. You got to put it behind you, move forward. And I think that's really what this team needs to do. If they don't put that behind them and kind of linger on the mistakes, it could end up being a snowball effect for them. But, I mean, it's a mature locker room with lots of veteran leaders like Fred Warner, like Brock Purdy. I mean, watching Brock Purdy and Juwan Jennings, it was just so unfortunate that they couldn't get the win last week because it would have been an incredibly, I guess, a kind of more publicized performance by those two. But they had such a great performance, both of them. But because of it was a loss, it becomes a stat as opposed to one of those epic games. Just watch Juwan Jennings walk into the stadium, and he's pumped up as normal, singing on his way in. So it could be another big day.
Jordan Mason, he's really done a great job filling the shoes of Christian McCaffrey. What has he meant to this 49ers offense?
The fact that he has been able to step in place of Christian McCaffrey has been really important. Now, they knew what they had in him when they drafted him, but with Shanahan's offense, a job. So if they are not good at pass protection, it's going to be a little while before they get on the field. Now, he's not Christian McCaffrey, but he is so powerful out of the backfield. And Bobby Turner has such a trust in him. It wasn't always like that, though. I mean, when J.P. Mason and Bobby Turner first started their relationship coach to player, they butted heads a bit. And finally, J.P. Mason realized the work that had to go into being a running back with the 49ers and their offense. And it's really paid off. You can see it on the field. He bought a jugs machine during the off season. He practiced with his dad. And so he wants to become just like Christian McCaffrey, wants to emulate him. That's a huge ask, but the fact that he's getting closer is a good sign of his success in the league.
Great stuff, Jennifer, in setting this table for what it's like from the San Francisco perspective. So now we'll put you on the spot and ask you for a pick, please.
Oh, I always hate predictions, but I think the 49ers are going to bounce back. I think they're going to bounce back, but I think, the Patriots, if they can get the run game going, it'll be a close one. I would say, let's go 20-14.
Very good. Jennifer Lee Chan from NBCSports.com out in the Bay Area. We really thank you for your time before the game today.
No problem. Have a good game.
Great. Thank you
very
very
much.
much.
Jennifer. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Good information there. She brings up the McCaffrey thing. Boy, that sounds like that's a big mystery, doesn't it?
Yeah, wasn't he going to Germany or something to get it checked? That's never a good sign when you're headed to Europe to get an evaluation. So, I don't know. I mean, it's just unfortunate. Such a dynamic player that I just think it's better for the league when a player who's that good is playing. And for the Patriots, they get a little bit of a break today. But I do think it's a blow to the league and just a blow to an awesome player that's a lot of fun to watch. So hopefully he's able to figure it out and get back this year. But let's face it, this is him. This is kind of an issue almost every year with injuries.
And the Niners have done a really good job on some of those late round picks. They've really feasted in that area and trying to find some value and guys who stepped in and played.
Yeah.
Kudos to their personnel staff for doing that.
Fred Warner's one of my favorite players in the league. I think he looks like a monster out there to me. The way he's just got like his arms cocked back, and he's smart enough to get in front of plays, but he's also fast enough to get in front of plays. He's an outstanding player in the middle of their defense, and he's going to be a big part of the run game today is making plays.
And a guy who's like as good as him hasn't even played yet. Dre Greenlaw.
Right?
It's amazing, just how much talent that they have. And I know that everybody uses that as the model. Like, why forget the quarterback, just build the team? Like, that's easy. That's ridiculously hard what they've done.
Yeah.
To have that amount of talent at that many different spots is not an easy thing. And Matt's right. They hit on a lot of 3rd and 4th and 5th round draft picks that are guys that are all pros now.
Okay, we want to hear from you as well. At the TPX hotline is 855-PATS-500. And if you'd like to email us, please send your messages along to podcasts@patriots.com. Let's hit the phones and let's check in with Pat in Agawam. Pat, you're next on the Patriots Pregame Show. Hello.
Hey, good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon, Pat.
Hey, Patty.
I just wanted to touch on a couple things. I don't know if you guys would think this is a dumb idea, but do you think that we could have some success possibly running some draws and delays at Nick Bosa's side to kind of take advantage of his over-aggressiveness, because that's just how he plays by nature. And I like the call-up from to get Isaiah Bolden up here. And I could see him matching up a lot on Juwan Jennings because, they had him working in the slot a lot at corner this training camp. And he's probably, I don't know how he's going to look in coverage, but he's probably one of our more dynamic athletes. And I just wanted to get your guys' thoughts on that, and I'll take it off air.
Thanks for the call, Pat. I think the notion that you run at somebody like Bosa is a good one. Yeah. I don't know that I'd do it on a draw. I'd line up and run it at him.
Yeah. Just going to say the same thing. It's defeating the purpose of that mentality by running draws and delays. Now he's in the backfield tackling your guy as he gets the ball.
Right. Yeah.
If you want to exploit a guy's over-aggressiveness, you run right at him.
Yeah.
Or maybe you run screen passes behind him.
Yeah, that's what I was, the direction I would have had is screen passes. Haven't seen a lot of those from the Patriots. I think Antonio Gibson has really shown some promise and could really be a nice 1-2 punch with Stevenson.
Change of pace.
Yeah, like to see him get a little bit more involved, but I like what Jennifer had to say. It seems like if there's one thing, Paul, start fast. I hate staying established the run, but it's kind of who the Patriots are. And I think getting a control of the game, picking up a couple first downs on your first possession, just getting a little bit of confidence and getting Ramondre going and feeling like you got a little something cooking, then it might open the rest of the playbook up.
So, Mike, isn't that part of this whole what is their identity? And don't they have to get back? They've got to get back to that. This is who we are.
Yeah.
And so they've got to establish this out of the chute.
Yeah, it's just so connected, and that's what we talked about this week of this wide zone kind of system. And you'll see it today with Shanahan that if you're able to run the wide zone, all of a sudden it's like it unlocks the rest of the offense because now you've got boots and play action and everything that you're able to do off of that. So it'd be great if they will be able to. I don't have a ton of confidence in it because, as we've talked about tons of times, it just seems really hard for this group of offensive linemen and running backs to really hit that outside edge. We've seen a couple of them, and I think Gibson is one who could be a candidate to get that outside edge. But I don't know. I think they're still trying to figure out, even within their identity of running the ball, what kind of running team they're going to be, if that makes sense. So maybe they can figure it out today a little bit.
And I feel like the offensive line has changed every game. Is Caden Wallace going to start today, or do we think it's going to change?
Yeah, that's a great thing to bring up. He banged up. You might have Trey Jacobs out there who's been here a few weeks at left tackle. We'll see how they divide those reps up, but great point.
Yeah, so that makes me even think even more this really might be a throwback type of game for the offense where they just run the ball and eventually pass, but I feel like it's definitely going to be really run heavy.
You mentioned offensive line. Our first emailer at podcast@patriots.com, that's Junior from Minneapolis, wants to weigh in on the left tackle debate. He disagrees with Paul about drafting a developmental left tackle in the second or third round because he believes that besides quarterback and left tackle...
Can you stop for a second? I've never suggested to draft a developmental left tackle in the second or third round. You can continue.
Okay. I love interrupting there. That's great. I'm being serious, by the way. Because he believes that besides quarterback, left tackle is the hardest position to find a quality starter. Wolf seems to believe in this because he tried to trade into the first round for Tyler Guyton, according to his agent. Where he does agree with you, Paul, is that he wanted Wolf to be more aggressive in the free agent market and sign someone. I kind of feel like that's beating a dead horse.
I just want to reiterate.
Was Anthony Munoz in the free agent market?
Just because that is so 1,000% the opposite of what I've said many, many times, including last week when I yelled at somebody and got angry.
That was good.
I do not think you can just pick left tackles in the third round. Right. I don't think there are a lot of quality left tackles that get found in the middle. But generally, they're blue chip guys that go early in the draft. So that is exactly the opposite of how I feel about left tackle.
Yeah. We knew it was going to be hard to get everything. I think that whole conversation, I'm really getting sick of it because it's just, look, the train has left the station at this point.
Correct. It's not even worth arguing about it anymore.
How many times can we sit here and be like, well, they could have signed this guy, but he's hurt, and they could have traded up and drafted this guy, but then not gotten that guy. I can't continue to play that game. I'm sure they're sitting up in their offices between the injuries and the personnel being like, we wish we had some more depth at left tackle, for whatever it's worth, whether it's a rookie, whether it's another free agent. But I at some point, you just got to leave the offseason behind and say, this is the guys we're going to war with. We got to try to figure it out. There's certainly holes that are going to need to be filled. We didn't think they were going to do everything last offseason. There is worth some criticism there for sure, but at the same time, like, here we are, week 4.
You're right. It's
we're
over.
moving on.
And by the way, don't you see the roster churn on literally a weekly basis between guys coming in, guys coming out?
Guys
going to be
hurt,
playing? Who's going to be playing this week? Who's not going to be playing this week? I mean, it's a major level of concern for the entire football staff.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, the part that I love is like you name a guy and they go Joe Alt. Well, Joe Alt's hurt now. Like I can't.
I really don't understand what a guy getting injured has to do with the mentality. I just.
He wouldn't be hurt if he was here. It's just.
Or he may have gotten hurt the first day of training camp if he was here. Like, I just don't understand why you say, see, that's what happens.
Yeah, right.
Oh, okay. So you're the one who knew that the guy was going to get hurt. Okay.
Our TPX hotline is 855-PATS-500. Floyd from Michigan joins us next on the Patriots pregame show, fueled by Duncan. Good afternoon, Floyd.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Floyd.
I have a two-part question. The first part, do you believe that Alex Van Pelt wants to start Drake May this year? Part 2, if, and that's the word is if, they were to sit Drake May for the season, wouldn't it be fair to ask why didn't the Patriots take a trade-down offer? And I got this question from Nick Ray. But remember, the Giants and the Vikings offered a trade-down. So couldn't they have taken a tackle and a wide receiver this year and then take the quarterback next year if they were to sit Drake May this year? Thank you for taking my call.
You're welcome, Floyd. And by the way, I think those are two good questions from Floyd. Let's start with do you think Alex wants May to start this year?
I think he has to start. I mean, I don't know what Alex Van Pelt wants. I mean, I know there's,
he wants
some
to
concern.
Win.
Well, he's got to win. I mean, and this is a chance. I think you had a chance to get a quarterback in the top 3. I saw Drake May play plenty of the summer to believe that was the right pick to make there. You don't know if you're going to be back in the top 3. It's not as easy as, well, just get a quarterback next year. I like the kid they got where they got him. I don't think we'd be in a better position if you had, traded down, drafted Joe Alt, and we're still just watching Jacoby Brissett get killed, and you have no quarterback for the future, and you're hoping now that your draft pick, again, is going to be high enough to get, I guess, somebody who emerges this year from college football that we're all kind of waiting for. So I think he has to play this year. I'm not hitting the panic button at all now, but we'll talk about it in November if we get to the point.
I don't know what Alex Van Pelt wants or doesn't want. I get the impression just from watching that he would rather not have him play. But the second part of the question, I don't know what one has to do with the other. If he's not going to play this year and they don't want him to play this year, why does that mean they should have traded down?
Yeah.
Because, I guess the idea is, well, you could have gotten, other things and then got the quarterback next year and then sat him next year. Because if they're kind of opposed to playing a rookie quarterback immediately, is it just because Drake May was only 21 coming into the league? Or is it just more of a philosophical, I don't want my young quarterback to play right away? I just, in other words, I don't really know what those two things have to do with each other. I think that they felt like May was better than the trade down option. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that's why they stood pat.
I just got to jump in again. And I keep doing this rant, but I'm going to keep doing it. I think that there is an element that they want to sit a young quarterback for a little bit. I don't, however, connect it to Aaron Rodgers, sitting behind Brett Favre and Jordan Love sitting behind Aaron Rodgers. I don't connect that to an organizational philosophy where we don't play our rookie quarterbacks in the first year. They had all-pro, Hall of Fame type quarterbacks starting at that point. I do think that there is an element of truth, and I agree with them, that a rookie quarterback maybe could use some time, especially one who didn't have a lot of experience in college, who had some warts coming out of college that we talked about all summer, footwork, consistency, some of the brain fart plays that Drake May tends to have as a young kid. So I get that they want to give some time. I just think where we might divert is that I think he has to play this year. I think the experience of burning a year, that is detrimental to him. He's not going to get what he needs. Sure, first couple months, understand the flow. The team gets a chance to figure out what they're good at and how he will fit into this equation and how they might be able to play to his strengths once he does get in there. But past a certain point in November, December, now you're starting to waste time, and that's when I'm going to start getting agitated like some of the fans are.
So, Mike, we're super sensitive to it here because we're watching it unfold right before our eyes. Hasn't happened for many, many years. This isn't just a Patriots issue. This is a league-wide issue.
Sure.
And you're watching Caleb Williams get thrust into the fire and struggle. Bo Nix got a win last week, but it wasn't really because of Bo Nix. Until last week against Cincinnati, Jaden Daniels hadn't really done anything. The great Tom Brady is here telling us all the time that why are these young quarterbacks being thrust into it? This is a real, live, on-the-job debate about how do you handle a young quarterback. And I don't know what the right answer is on this. I think it's very much team-specific. And I think if you asked everybody here and in the New England area what they want to see from the New England Patriots by the end of the 2024 season is that Drake May's got some snaps under his belt. Mayo said this, they need to know what they've got in him. We just don't know when that time's going to happen.
Yeah, and a little patience, It's been 3 weeks, and there was 3 games in 2.5 weeks, really.
And I will say, too, I think that, going into training camp, I think Gerard Mayo has said this many times, they had a different look at the offensive line than we all thought. They thought it was at least going to be decent. And obviously you can't anticipate guys like City So and what happened with Chooks. They didn't anticipate those things happening. And so I think that, say if everyone was still here, Chooks was still here, say City So was healthy, I'm wondering if it would be different because the offensive line would have been a consistent 5 up until this point versus a hodgepodge every single week.
And Patriot fans are weighing in on the subject, emailing at podcast@patriots.com, saying, Tony from Canada saying it's May Day. Based on what we've seen so far, I think the Patriots will win about a quarter of their games this year. And if that's the case, then it's hard for me to be excited about watching the game unless we play Drake May. So it's obviously out there. It's what most people are talking about.
I get it. But I think we've seen enough of Drake May that I'm okay being a little bit patient here through September and October.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll see.
From Evan's Twitter's fingers, it is looking like City So and Caden Wallace are both warming up right now in T-shirts, and John Jones, which is a sign that they'll be active. So hopefully we'll know more soon. But I'm wondering if Trey Jacobs does get the start at left tackle, if maybe they'll use Caden Wallace for the 6th offensive lineman if they want to get really efficient running the ball today.
Yeah, Paul, you had a thing about, sorry.
Because Caden did that, 15 times, 18 times, whatever it was, the first game. I'm wondering if maybe they tried Trey Jacobs at left tackle and then use Caden Wallace as the 6th.
In a role where he's had some success, Tamara.
Yes. And just try someone else at left tackle.
Well, just Wallace if maybe instead of, if Wallace is a little banged up,
try him as the 6th.
Hold him back a little bit. Just make him play, the 6th offensive tackle kind of position. It just depends on how hurt he is and how much he's ready to go. I don't hate it. I think Paul, you said maybe they start Jacobs and see how it goes, and then bring Wallace in as an option too. But I think ultimately it's just going to boil down to how does Caden Wallace feel today.
You look like you're letting that one simmer a little bit, Paul.
And I'm ready to see City So play today too. Finally.
Yeah.
I just think the offensive line has struggled. I think all of the guys have struggled. I haven't necessarily seen it any better with any different they had the same 4 guys from left guard to right tackle in all 3 games. They've had revolving door at left tackle. Mm-hmm. And I don't think any of them has been any good. Ironically, I think the guy who probably played the most consistently was Michael Jordan.
And he's hurt.
At left guard, and he's hurt now.
Yep.
So I feel like for Scott Peters and Alex Van Pelt, on one hand, because I feel like they have been hamstrung a little bit by by the inability to protect the passer. But that's reality.
I wonder what it'd be like if Onwenu didn't have to move positions, if he was in the same position that he was practicing in all summer. I feel like that's the one he wants to be in, at least.
Yeah, it's funny because you laid it out, and it was it'd be great if we could have kept the same guys in, and it's just I just haven't seen the strides yet from Vidarian Lowe, and I'd say that's kind of the piece. I don't know what they were planning, in their heart of hearts, what the was a core for their plan at left tackle, or was it just kind of we don't really know. We're kind of going to throw a bunch of right tackles at the wall, and we have this kid Vidarian Lowe that we kind of believe in, but I just haven't seen the progress from them, and that's what has to start to come. And the coaches have said it consistently every time they talk. It's going to get better. It's going to get better. Well, at a certain point, it's got to get better.
Yeah.
City So, as much as he was in there and he was consistent, I thought in some of the preseason games he looked discombobulated. He just looked like he didn't quite know where he was fitting into things. We'll see how he is coming if he's able to get back in there. But it's hard to have confidence. I'd love to have continuity, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to lead to success.
Is the progress hampered or hamstring, Mike, because of the fact that they're injured across the board?
I mean,
mixing and matching.
Got to be a factor. But at the same time, as Paul pointed out, they had a lot of the same personnel, and some of the mistakes that you saw last week, like some of them you could point to and say, look, Michael Jordan and Caden Wallace on the left side, they screwed up picking that stunt up. Michael Jordan's going right with the guy. He picks Caden Wallace. The guy loops right over him and comes right. But you also see something like Mike Onwenu, which reading between the tea leaves, it seems like he just kind of cut a guy loose on third down. And so you can't have your veteran that you just extended making brain farts. Like that's below the line. We talk about it, but like that's below the line. For a couple rookies screwing up on a stunt, all right, week 3, short week, first time starting left tackle. All right, I'll give you a little bit of a pass on that, but they just can't make the stupid mistakes, the self-inflicted ones, especially by the guy who you really need to be your best player.
TPX hotline 855-PATS-500. Justin from Virginia, you're next on the Patriots pregame show fueled by Duncan. Hello, Justin.
What's going on, guys? Excited for some football?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, so what I'm talking about is I want people to be a little bit careful with, trying to extrapolate the short term to the long term. I don't necessarily think that how this year goes in a microcosm is a dictation on how this man's whole career is going to go. Because I remember Joe Burrow's first year, he started day one, and it didn't he ended up being pretty good, right? Tua Tagovailoa, his first year didn't go very well. He ended up at least being a good quarterback. The concussion things is a different subject, but he at least ended up being a good quarterback. I just think at some point they have to circle around to what we've been saying. Get playmakers at offensive tackle, get playmakers at wide receiver,
Justin, thank you for the phone call. I think that's the subtitle to the 2024 Patriots highlight film, whenever that comes out, is how do they balance, the now and the future.
Yeah.
And it's not an easy path to navigate.
It's not. And as you can see, people aren't patient. I mean, it's not, what have you done for me lately? And I totally understand every fan out there who's saying, I want to see Drake May play. We all want to see Drake May play. We have to be a little bit patient, but hopefully it's coming sooner than later.
So, but the one thing here, before we're up against it here in a second, I want to go back into, I'm reading the Ian O'Connor book on Rodgers right now, and I've just gone through the part where Rodgers sat. You're right, Mike. It's not an apples to apples situation. But with so many people from that organization and the fact that they did it twice, granted, again, apples and cantaloupes, it has to color their decision, doesn't it?
I would think so. I mean, and look, they're the professionals. I'm sure they could go into far more detail than I could about the benefits of sitting. But I get it. I get it for 6 to 8 games, the first to start. I mean, look, I think we can all agree, there's been ups and downs with the rookies. We saw a great game from Jaden Daniels last week. Is he going to build on that and have a similar kind of game this week? Or, you're looking at Bo Nix, who had a good game last week, and now he's having a terrible week. So there's value in that for sure. I think it's just a question of when do you want to kind of push him out on the boat? It's like finally put your kid on his bike and, when are you ready to finally let go and let him pedal on his own? I don't see anything wrong with, especially a young kid. This is a long-term plan. Nobody thinks that, they're just a quarterback away.
Right.
So give him a little bit of time. But, again, I'll be right there. If it's November and Brissett is walking out there limping onto the field, to start the first quarter, what are we doing here? Let's get the kid out there and start getting him some experience.
For me, it's all about getting through those pains, those early growing pains. I have no illusions that Jaden Daniels is going to play 16 more games like he did last week. He's been pretty good through 3 games. Caleb Williams is getting better through 3 games.
Yeah.
He's not there. These guys have a long way to go. I don't like Bo Nix. I don't think he's all that good. He was excellent last week. Mm-hmm. He played a really good game against Tampa Bay. I don't think that that's who he is because I don't really believe in the talent. But those other 2 guys, I would feel better having the opportunity to have my guy playing like that and sort of fighting through some of the stuff that I know is going to happen. That Aaron Rodgers thing that Matt's talking about. Well, there's this whole narrative now. He couldn't even throw the ball. He didn't know what he was doing when he was a rookie. Well, yeah, you know what? He wasn't ready to play in year 3 or year 4 whenever he took over either. You know why? Because he hadn't played yet. So I'd like to eliminate the year 4 rebuilding year as opposed to the year 1 rebuilding year and hope that he's good.
just a little live update here for you, Paul. Bo Nix 7 for 15 for -7 yards in the elements at the Meadowlands. As we say goodbye to Paul for a minute, we're going to remind you that here's a question for the crowd. If your team runs on their fans, what do the fans run on? When you kick off your day with Dunkin', we're with you all the way to the end zone. Make a run to Dunkin', official coffee run of the New England Patriots. We'll be back right after this.
Without good blocking, your team's not going anywhere. Cisco blocks cyber attacks for customers around the world, including the entire Fortune 100 and the NFL. Because when the game is on the line, and it's always on the line, the NFL relies on Cisco.
It ain't my dad's razor, Dad. Hey, watch it. It's from Gillette Labs. This green bar releases trapped hairs from my face. Game changer. While the Flex, this contours to it. So the 5 blades can get virtually every hair in one stroke. For the ultimate Gillette shaving experience. The best a man can get is Gillette Labs.
By the time this Patriots fan is finished drinking his Pepsi, you'll be 15 seconds closer to game time. Patriots watching. Better with Pepsi.
Without good blocking, your team's not going anywhere. Cisco blocks cyber attacks for customers around the world, including the entire Fortune 100 and the NFL. Because when the game is on the line, and it's always on the line, the NFL relies on Cisco.
It ain't my dad's razor, Dad. Hey, watch it. It's from Gillette Labs. This green bar releases trapped hairs from my face. Game changer. While the Flex, this contours to it. So the 5 blades can get virtually every hair in one stroke. For the ultimate Gillette shaving experience. The best a man can get is Gillette Labs.
By the time this Patriots fan is finished drinking his Pepsi, you'll be 15 seconds closer to game time. Patriots watching. Better with Pepsi.
Without good blocking, your team's not going anywhere. Cisco blocks cyber attacks for customers around the world, including the entire Fortune 100 and the NFL. Because when the game is on the line, and it's always on the line, the NFL relies on Cisco.
It ain't my dad's razor, Dad. Hey, watch it. It's from Gillette Labs. This green bar releases trapped hairs from my face. Game changer. While the Flex, this contours to it. So the 5 blades can get virtually every hair in one stroke. For the ultimate Gillette shaving experience. The best a man can get is Gillette Labs.
By the time this Patriots fan is finished drinking his Pepsi, you'll be 15 seconds closer to game time. Patriots watching. Better with Pepsi.
You've got to watch your NFL team every Sunday, and Verizon's got you covered for all your team's out-of-market games every Sunday afternoon. Come on! From kickoff to sign-off, from first downs and touchdowns to turnovers and overturned plays.
After review, the pass was incomplete.
Nice! Let's go! This season, win every Sunday with Verizon. Get a great deal on NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV and a new phone. Excludes digital-only games. Terms and embargoes apply.
When someone accidentally threw away the school play costumes,
oh no!
Replacements were shipped with FedEx. And with picture proof of delivery, everyone could focus on the perfect opening night. FedEx, where now meets next. For residential delivery only.
You've got to watch your NFL team every Sunday, and Verizon's got you covered for all your team's out-of-market games every Sunday afternoon. Come on! From kickoff to sign-off, from first downs and touchdowns to turnovers and overturned plays.
After review, the pass was incomplete.
Nice! Let's go! This season, win every Sunday with Verizon. Get a great deal on NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV and a new phone. Excludes digital-only games. Terms and embargoes apply.
When someone accidentally threw away the school play costumes,
oh no!
Replacements were shipped with FedEx. And with picture proof of delivery, everyone could focus on the perfect opening night. FedEx, where now meets next. For residential delivery only.
You've got to watch your NFL team every Sunday, and Verizon's got you covered for all your team's out-of-market games every Sunday afternoon. Come on! From kickoff to sign-off, from first downs and touchdowns to turnovers and overturned plays.
After review, the pass was incomplete.
Let's go! This season, win every Sunday with Verizon. Get a great deal on NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV and a new phone. Excludes digital-only games. Terms and embargoes apply.
When someone accidentally threw away the school play costumes,
Oh no.
replacements were shipped with FedEx. And with picture proof of delivery, everyone could focus on the perfect opening night. FedEx, where now meets next. For residential delivery only.
You've got to watch your NFL team every Sunday, and Verizon's got you covered for all your team's out-of-market games every Sunday afternoon. Come on! From kickoff to sign-off, from first downs and touchdowns to turnovers and overturned plays.
After review, the pass was incomplete.
Let's go! This season, win every Sunday with Verizon. Get a great deal on NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV and a new phone. Excludes digital-only games. Terms and embargoes apply.
Join the conversation by calling into the TPX hotline at 855-PATS-500 or email the show at podcast@patriots.com. Now, live from our studios, here is Matt Smith.
And we welcome you back inside Gillette Stadium for the Patriots pregame show fueled by Duncan. A reminder that Bridgestone is the official tire of the New England Patriots, and they're proud to partner with Sullivan Tire, New England's headquarters for quality Bridgestone tires. Visit sullivantire.com to find a location near you. Inactive time. That means it's Tamara Brown time.
I love that. Tamara Brown time. Sadly, I have to report that Anthony Jennings is inactive today. I think that's the biggest blow to this list. Jaheim Bell also out, Michael Jordan, Vadarian Lowe, Jeremy Croma, and Joe Milton is obviously the emergency quarterback. And then for the 49ers, Deebo Samuel is active, Trent Williams is active, George Kittle is active. So almost at full strength for the 49ers offense. I think we talked about it at the top of the show. That was the expectation, but I want to go back to Anthony Jennings. I think this is going to be a huge game for Raekwon McMillan, who, obviously is trying to fill the void of Juwan Bentley. And, over the summer, Gerard Mayo talked about him being a tone setter for this defense. He talked about he's finally healthy. He's a good blocker. He flies around. I need to see that because I didn't see that last week. And when you don't have Anthony Jennings, you're going to have to rely on guys like Tavai and Raekwon McMillan, and you don't have Juwan Bentley. It could be a long day for this defense who struggled to stop the run last week.
And you say a San Francisco 49er offense that is pretty much close to full strength.
Exactly.
The New England Patriot offense is not at full strength.
No, I would just echo what Tamara said. I think the lack of physicality on the edges, it's not good. I mean, you traded Judon away. You don't have Jennings in there. Who are really your outside linebackers today? I mean, you're right. Raekwon McMillan, Jelani Tavai, they can kind of slide out there, but this is a big physical team that wants to run the ball, San Francisco, and to not have big physical guys in. I mean, Keon White, I'm sure will be out there a little bit. They'll string some stuff together with him, but it's a light group on the second level. I think it's going to be a challenge for him.
And I feel it sucks because this is a defense who we thought had really progressed in stopping the run, and they've been so good at it, or they've become so good at it, and now it's like this could be an area that if I was the 49ers, I would exploit because they are missing those guys. And it's like now it's kind of a group effort where I feel like Juwan Bentley was the glue that held all of this together, and now you take him out and everything is unraveling.
So you're going to try to cheat up Peppers, you're going to try to cheat up Duggars, and then when you do that, then Kittle's wide open in the middle.
You might have to, but I mean, look, if I was the 49ers and I know the Patriots defense pretty well, I mean, I'd have a target, right on Daniel Ekuale up the middle. I would have a target on some of these lighter guys on the zone runs getting to the outside. There's really a bunch of options for San Francisco to attack, at least as far as the run. And then, as you said, and then we can just slip one of our great receivers in behind. So, I mean, this is where you see the problems that this team causes with Deebo Samuel, all the different things that he can do, what they do with Kyle Juszczyk, their fullback, who is a fullback in name, but really just does everything for them. H-back, can block, can catch. So not to keep going back to 2020, but you saw it. You saw the Patriots defense in a blender, and it's like they just were spinning the dial. Hey, we're passing. We're gonna here's a little end around to Deebo. Here's a deep shot to to Ayuk. It's a lot to deal with on defense, and it's got to be fun as an offensive coordinator to know that You've just got all these different options right at your disposal. It's going to be a big challenge for the Patriots defense today.
And I think from a pass rush perspective, it's like I don't know how they're going to get pressure on Brock Purdy, who, when I was watching the game last week, the announcers were like, oh, he can make a coffee back there. That's how much time he has. He can grill a steak. Like, they were just going on and on about how much time he had to throw. Yeah. And that's not something that you want if you're the Patriots defense. Like, you want to get pressure on him. And last week, they didn't get much pressure on Aaron Rodgers at all. So I don't know what the plan is. I don't know what DeMarcus Covington is cooking up back there, but
well, it's just like getting to third down. I mean, how do we get to third down? Because then, all right, then Uche can kind of do what he does, and he's got good speed, and I think he could, maybe put some challenge on Trent Williams a little bit with his ability to bend the edge. But to me, it's about getting to third down and getting into that situation because, I think in the perfect world, that's kind of what the Patriots defense is. We got our big, Anthony Jennings and Keon White are going to be out there as our edge setters on early downs. And all right, we got to third down, and now, all right, we're going to let the horses loose with, with some of the upfield rushing that the Patriots defense will do from time to time. But it's just how do they get to third down? That's going to be the big challenge. Stopping the run is huge.
A couple follow-ups there. I think it was Dietrich Wise who said during the week, Purdy is sneaky. Kind of athletic, will get outside a little bit, can break outside and maybe pick up some of those scramble yards when pressure comes. And then just on the Jennings thing, and I like Anthony Jennings as a player. I think he earned the contract extension that he got in the offseason. He's a good piece to have on the team. I think it speaks to the lack of depth on the entire roster defensively when we're pining away for Anthony Jennings to play. Yeah. It just speaks to the depth issues that they have. No, the linebacker depth. It's hard right now.
Yeah,
it is.
And it's like guys who usually only came in for a couple packages are expected to play full time, and it's like, are these guys ready for that?
Right, Mike. You mentioned Equali, and I like Daniel Equali as a player too. But Daniel Equali is a 5th or 6th defensive lineman on the team. See how many snaps he played against the Jets game. I can't believe in the spring that they were sitting there going, "This is how many snaps Daniel Equali is going to play." It's not the role I would think that they would envision for him.
No, and that's, again, it's, where everyone's focused on personnel misgivings at the tackle position. But, I was somebody who said edge, and, it was even more glaring once they traded Judon. And certainly Keon White has been really good and has helped a little bit. But I think Keon White, he's not a pure edge player. He's not going to play there every down. So on one hand, yes, it's nice that he can go there on early downs and he's physical on the edge and he'll set an edge. But he's not going to rush off the edges as consistently as Judon would have. And, even just they pieced it together. Jennings had such a specific role, but it was an important role, especially against a physical running team like this. And, like you said, Matt, you pull that thread out, and it's just another big piece that they're going to have to overcome.
It's a tough sweater.
Tamara mentioned Raekwon McMillan. He's pretty athletic, but he's not the most physical guy, and so that I think you're just missing a lot of physicality on the Patriots defense today.
Right. Paul comes back from his show. Paul, just to catch you up if you haven't already been caught up, John Jones up, Anthony Jennings down for the Patriots defensively.
Yeah, I think Jennings is a big loss. I think that he's one of their better front seven run defenders. So now he and Bentley I would put in that small group, and they're both out. So a team like San Francisco that wants to run the ball the way they like to run it to the edges with the zone, the wide zone that the Patriots have been talking about so much. That's what the Niners do. That's not a good situation for the Patriots.
Nope.
TPX hotline is 855-PATS-500. We'll go back to the phones and check in with Matthew in Arizona. Matthew, you're next on the Patriots pregame show, fueled by Duncan. Hello, Matthew.
Hello, good afternoon. I think everybody needs to get a pregame Duncan, maybe get a Boston cream before the game. Good idea. I love Duncan.
There you go.
As do we.
Number two is, regardless of just when Drake May starts, which maybe week 8 or so, it's possibly going to be the last rookie standing mentally and physically from the 2024 class. I feel like Williams and Daniels and Nix may have more wounds to lick this offseason. And also with the trade down argument, this is my follow-up to that. I've argued with this with people at work. It's not a question of why we should have traded down. It's why the teams wanted to trade up. If you look at May in his Hard Knocks interview with the Giants, his way he mentally processes things is like, it doesn't come often. So those are my two questions. I'll pick it up there.
Thanks for the call, Matt, who brings up a good point about the trade down scenario. There were people who wanted him, and specifically, whatever we were able to gather intel-wise from that Hard Knock series with the Giants, they looked like they were interested in him. Yeah. They liked the kid.
I said it I don't know.
So why not
sometime in March?
Stay and pick.
Sometime in March.
Stick
I mean,
and
before
pick.
the owners' meeting, I think he's worth missing on. If Drake May doesn't work out, I think he's worth. I mean, we saw him play this summer. The way he's assimilating into the system, his athleticism. I mean, the caller talked about his mind. A little bit of that was on display in Hard Knocks. I can't really speak extensively to that. The coaches could, but just physically. I mean, we said it 100 times to Paul during practice. It's like it's just so nice to watch a kid who can just fling the ball, and it's going 60 yards on a rope. So those kind of things, the athleticism outside the pocket, the ability to run and pick his spots. There's no physical shortcomings with Drake May, and I'm excited when he does get in there. There was enough this summer to be really intriguing with him.
What did you guys think of the headline this week of, I think it was Nicole Yang who asked Gerard Mayo, are there plans to sign another veteran quarterback? Just because, Jacoby Brissett is taking all these hits. If he gets hurt, is there a worry that you have to put Drake May in?
Yeah, I mean,
I
just
didn't
go
know
for it. Like, force your hand, and that's, I mean.
I think they told you that when they cut Bailey Zappi.
Exactly. Yeah, right. You had that guy already.
I don't really understand. They just played him last week. Obviously,
they're good.
They're comfortable playing him. Like, 'cause to me, that was, if you had reservations about the offensive line and not exposing your young rookie quarterback to undue physicality, you would not have put him in to mop up in that game. Because that was, to me, and you better hope this is the case, rock bottom.
Yeah.
Like, you could not even stop. You weren't even like a speed bump on the way to the quarterback in that game, and they put him in that game. So that tells me they don't have those reservations.
It'd be a bad sign. I mean, that would just, it would kind of make me sick if they went out and signed a veteran, and because that would signal to you, it ain't happening this year. I mean, to me, at least it's a very small vote of confidence, but I see it as a vote of confidence.
Is that a necessary question to ask, or did they already tell us that by Paul, what you saw at the end of the Jets game?
That's my answer, but, to me, there's no... I say this all the time, like, people criticize us all the time for asking dumb questions, and we all do. We all do. There's almost no dumb questions. Like, ask. You never know what they're going to say.
Correct.
You never know what they're going to say. Ask it.
Well, this isn't.
So I don't think it was a dumb question. No.
Okay, so this isn't a dumb question, but I'm a little confused by the question that came to us via podcast at patriots.com from Travis in West Virginia. Hello, friends, as Jim Nantz would say. Should spinning the dial really be a viable strategy for coaches who are making millions of dollars?
What do you mean?
Like,
I don't know. I don't understand context.
Thank you, Mike. You're with me. I don't understand it. I mean, I think if we're talking about spinning the dial in football terms, we're talking about trying to be multiple, aren't we here?
Doing a lot of different things.
Right.
Yeah.
Which I think that's what your job is as a coach, to spin the dial, isn't it?
I mean, I'll answer the question the way I'm going to take it is defensively. I mean, I would relate it to having defensively to spin the dial on defense every time, and not being able to consistently produce a pass rush with four guys. Not having players that can win one-on-one matchups. I think that's a concern. But I also think that if you're successful, it's a sign of a good defensive coordinator if you're able to take a defense that can't win those one-on-one matchups and have a successful defense, even though you don't have those pieces. You're able to confuse quarterbacks or at least put the offense enough on their heels that you're able to be disruptive. But I mean, that's my big worry today, is that the 49ers are going to kind of do what the Jets did and what they did back in 2020. They're going to get this Patriots defense on their heels, and then they're just going to kind of toy with them. When they overplay the run, they're going to pass it behind them, and it's it's going to be a long day.
Start fast, create some turnovers. That's the prescription to stay in this game and win it. 855-PATS-500. 500 is the TPX hotline. We'll go to Chad in Los Angeles. Good afternoon, Chad. You're with us now on the Patriots pregame show, fueled by Duncan.
Hey, thank you. This might be a dumb question, but this is about Brissett. I'm wondering if he was slightly better or markedly better, would it make any difference? Or is it just everything else is so foobarred that it really doesn't matter for this year and we just got to suck it up and deal with it?
Love the question, Chad. Thank you for the
phone call. If your quarterback was markedly better, it would make everything look better. Right?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, in a perfect world, you'd like to be sending Drake May into an offense that has some confidence, but I don't know. I think Jacoby Brissett has been, kind of what you expected, almost to like an annoying level of, he's not really turning the ball over, but he's not really doing anything to help the team win. It's just a net negative, or
I feel
neutral.
like there's no real level of ineptitude that would make a great quarterback not help a team. Like, I don't know if I've seen that. like a team that's so bad that even the best quarterback play can't help you. Now, I'm not telling you that Tom Brady could win a Super Bowl regardless of the talent level. We saw there's a difference between 14-2 and 12-4. The 12-4s that you were very upset with, Mike. But I'm joking. But yeah, that was talent. In 19, N'Keal Harry, Mohamed Sanu. It was basically Edelman. And that was it.
Yeah.
But he's still great. So he still won 12 games.
Right. So, I'm no quarterback whisperer here, but, what would you say has been the knock through 3 games on Jacoby, who has been getting knocked around a lot? And the only thing that I would say, again, as the layperson here, is that there's a tendency maybe to hold on to the ball a little too much.
He holds the ball too long.
Missed a few layups.
Missed a couple of throws. Now, there was one real good, the one that we talked about last week with Austin Hooper on the second down play.
Is that a deep cross, Paul?
Talking to some people, Hooper stumbled coming out of his route on that play. So it maybe wasn't on Jacoby Brissett as much as it may have appeared. So I don't think he's been great by any means, but I don't think he's been the number one problem with the offense. Let's put it that way.
And he's certainly been winning over his teammates and the staff and everything like that for his toughness. I think everybody to a person has been marveling.
Throw everything else out the window. Right. You just got to say this guy has done everything you've asked of him to do, to take the hits, to keep getting up, to have, positive outlook. He's managed all these questions about Drake May and all those things. He's handled all that really well. So regardless of the performance, the 1-2 record, it's just you got to take your hat off to the guy for what he's been able to do.
So we're a little more than an hour before kickoff in Santa Clara, California, where the 1-2 Patriots travel to take on the 1-2 San Francisco 49ers. A bit of a surprise. I want to throw out a little esoteric idea out to Paul. I had teased him this before we went on the air. Not a huge sample size, but we're in week 4. Scoring down, passing yards down. Now, scoring might be up a little bit this week as maybe the extension of preseason has started to wear off for a lot of teams. What are we seeing for the reasons for that, Mike, do you think? Is it the old shell, too deep safety?
I don't know. In my opinion, I think this is a conversation that we probably won't be having at the end of the season. I think the offenses will start to kick into gear, and I don't know. I see it more as just an anomaly, maybe a little bit more related to how the game has evolved in terms of training camp and summer and joint practices and all that stuff, lack of tackling. I think that's as big of a piece, but I always try to tell myself, and this is usually like an individual stats thing, but I generally just try not to look at stats or trends till 4 weeks. Get 4 weeks under, and then we can maybe start to talk about, things that are trending a certain way. But, after 3 weeks to jump in and this is how the league has changed and it's going to be impossible, I don't really buy it yet. But we'll see how it kind of develops.
Yeah, I think definitely, and I know you were being half sarcastic, Matt, with the too deep shell and all that. But I do think that that's part of it, and I think that what opposing defenses have figured out is a way to at least slow things down. I think there are a lot of different factors. It's a 4-year trend, right? That the points are going down.
Correct.
Passing yards are going down. But I don't really necessarily think it's because the offenses aren't working as well and the defenses are playing better. I think they're just making you go the long way more consistently. And part of it is, and I read a story. I think wasn't Bill Barnwell. Someone wrote a thing.
You don't have the patience to read Bill Barnwell, do you, Paul?
I absolutely do not. But I like to read the little bold type before we get into ADOT and whatnot. That's average depth of target, in case you were wondering.
Way over my head.
ADOT. That's ridiculous. But anyway, I don't think that offensive coordinators take enough shots. I think that you need to throw the ball downfield and make plays and back people off. But I think if you really look at it, Mike and I did a little tiny
this is yours, Paul.
bit of research this week.
You did the research, Paul.
So scoring's down. Punting's not up.
Right.
So there's two things to me. One, it's taking too long for teams to score, which is shortening the game. And two, no one wants to kick a field goal anymore. So that's taking points off the board too. So
the nerds are telling them to go for it on 4th down.
Yeah, and I think that is helping teams have one play to prevent points. If I can make one play on fourth down, and what's up? Sacks. Quarterback sacks.
Holding on the ball.
So you make one play, and you can get off the field and not allow any points, whereas that would be, you make that one play to stop a drive in the red zone, that's 3. Now it's 0 because no one's kicking field goals unless they're like 58 yards. That's the irony is field goals themselves are up, but there are so many chip shot field goals that aren't getting kicked anymore. But punting, and again, very small, like Mike said, it's 3 weeks.
Right.
Punting is not up. Punting is slightly down. Yeah. I used 2020 because that was the apex of the scoring. They're punting less often than they did in 2020 through 3 games. So I don't know that I can say that's because of great defense. If they're not punting, no one's stopping you. It's just, look at the Jets last week. 7+ minutes, 7+ minutes, 7+ minutes. You can only get 21 points. That was the max because the game was over.
Well, the analytics departments, Paul, still need to get paid, even though it's only a 3-week sample size. So they got to spit out the numbers somehow, some way, right, Mike?
Yeah, I mean, I wonder too, and I'm just kind of off the cuff here, but I just wonder if overall quarterback play is a little bit down based on
completion percentage up.
Really?
Which is another, like,
take the safe.
Everything is Johnny check down.
Right.
Yeah.
Because I think that the defenses have made everything go in front of them, and it's working because it's slowing you down.
Which that style, Paul, is playing into what I think the Patriots want to do on offense is shorten the game, drive the length of the field. Can they not make mistakes and keep the ball away from the other team for a significant amount of time so that they can stay in the game and win the game?
Well, the Patriots dominated time of possession in the first 2 games.
Correct.
Now, in the second game, it was because Seattle scored so fast. It wasn't necessarily because they were holding the ball. It was because the other team didn't need it long to score. In the Jets game, the Jets did need it for a long time to score. But my buddy on my show, Mike Felger, goes on this, to me, ridiculous rant about the college offense and, talk about sounding like the old guy, yelling at the clouds. In my day, we didn't have these Mickey Mouse college offenses. They work. Those are the same offenses that set the record in 2020. It's the same thing. Like, when was Jalen Hurts his most effective? Was like 2 years ago, right?
Yeah.
Is that not a college offense, or did maybe things slow down a little bit? So it's not necessarily about just too deep. I think it's about a mentality offensively. Stay safe, throw it underneath, run after catch, and we're going to do it that way. And I think that lowers the points. How many times, Mike, you and I talk about the running game? Lowers the points.
Yeah. I mean, do you think that if you're Kansas City, you like that? Or are you saying we're going to bide our time until we can start cooking with it? Because, they don't really seem to care. They seem like they'll just, what do you want to do? Yeah, we'll do that. We have Mahomes. We can play whatever you want him to check it down 100 times. He'll do it. But I just wonder if there are some teams that need to play that way. The Eagles might be a good example of that. As a team that just when you're not getting the big explosive plays and your big receivers aren't eating and they're not feeling involved in the game, if that, it not only takes you out of the game that way, but it's also you're starting to feel some tension on the sidelines because your guys want the ball and so it kind of starts to snowball on you a little bit.
I do think we're also not focusing in. It is a small sample size. These teams are now coming up on the quarter pole. We're after 4 games. I think these coaching staffs are all smart enough to know, all right, what do we have here? The injuries have hit us here. They've hit us here. What are we going to do? And they know who they are. And I think that's now going forward. I think we're going to get a better sense of who these teams are. And I think we've heard it for many years that coaches, it's the old extension of preseason, yes, but let's look at 4 games and see what we got after a quarter of the season and what exactly are we. And I think you've mentioned the word patience a couple times. Let's see how that develops over this first 4-week period.
Yeah, 4 weeks. It's that's
I think Mike's point about that is
I
dead
said
on.
it this week. I'm just I'm sorry. I'm having a hard time getting all flustered right now after 3 games. It is a rebuild. And maybe part of that is you just protecting your biggest piece, and you're still I don't know, maybe Drake May is the best player in the history of the league. We haven't seen him play it. You can't tell me I'm wrong. So there's always a certain part of protecting that unknown, because once he gets in there, you'll start to see the good and the bad, as you're seeing with the other rookie quarterbacks. But at this point, I'm still pretty patient. But we'll see over the next 4 weeks or so.
It's closing in on the 3 o'clock hour here on the East Coast, which means we've got about one more hour before football takes place, and the 4 o'clock window opens up when the Patriots take on San Francisco. That's on the Fox television network this week, which is a little bit of an oddity.
I have Justin Fields down by contact on this play.
Oh, I came to it late.
Had his forearm on the ground. Be curious to see if they overturn that in replay. My first red zone chime in.
Is that a normal thing? Do you?
Yeah, Paulie red zone. Yeah.
How many times a pregame show?
Well, we don't always do 4 o'clock games where it's all 1 o'clock games on the red zone, but
Okay.
I like to do that from time to time.
Bonus coverage from Red Zone.
Hardy used to enjoy it. Watch this right here. When he's down now, he gets himself up, but his left forearm down on the ground.
Yeah, it's down.
Should be down by contact right there.
Paul is watching NFL Red Zone. He is checking out. Looks like we're on our own. He's watching the plays from some other games. That's when this show gets really lame, and that's how you know Paul's watching the Red Zone.
Hardy.
That's outstanding. that is truly outstanding. Good production. Love it.
Oh, good news is Bo Nix is over the Mendoza line. He's now thrown for 16 yards.
Whoa, Bo. Whoa, Bo.
Certainly not on that play.
Whoa, Bo.
But doesn't he have that's what I'm looking here for. Sorry, the elements aren't in his favor today.
No, it's
That means good
it's
Jets
I mean it's
defense.
6-0 in the game. So obviously the Jets aren't throwing it all over the place either. You would think Rodgers would be a little bit more.
I know. That's why I keep
know.
wondering.
We're not there, Mike. So I have no idea.
I know.
But it is a monsoon.
It's just tough on these high-tech TVs. You'd think you'd be able to see the weather a little bit better, but I mean, you look at it; their jerseys are wet, but I can't see any rain or wind. But you know me, Paul. I'm worried about the weather until we actually see the weather, and then I'm like, it doesn't look that bad.
As we're watching a little bit of the Paul's Red Zone here, and we see that Cincinnati might get off the schneid as they're taking it to Carolina. I go back to a quote that I read from Devon Godchow this week, where you wonder, are these guys listening? What's going on outside? And he going, hey, Carolina went in last week. Nobody gave him a chance to win the game. That's why they play.
Except for the people that picked them.
That's why they play the game. Do you believe that's a rallying cry this week, Mike?
I think early on in the season, that's what you tell yourself. I mean, it's you still hold on to that because late in the season, you kind of know who you are, and those upsets are fewer and fewer, I think, as you get longer into the season and you start to know who you are and teams separate themselves. But, at this point, it's. I mean, we've seen a little bit of surprising results here today, and I still think we're getting a beat on it. It's just the bottom line for me is that you've got a very banged-up Patriots team. Their most beleaguered position group is even more banged up, and they're going to start another guy. And their defense is really banged up, too. And how are they going to reverse kind of the last couple of weeks of losing guys to injury and, losing to the Jets and, really – the first big adversity that this team has faced. So I just, like I said, even in a loss, I just hope it's a scrappy effort that they, continue to fight and maybe they just at least make it interesting. That's kind of my bottom bar to clear hopefully today. But they're up against it today. There's no
and
question.
I know what they're trying to do, and I think Gerard is trying to tell them listen, we know how badly we played last week, and we know we're playing San Francisco this week, but is Carolina beating the Raiders? Is that what you're trying to use? I know what he's trying to do, but that's not even an upset. I mean, it's two bad teams playing each other when someone's got to win.
Right. More based on the previous week's results, and then now it's this, but it's still.
I don't know. If you want to tell me the Raiders beating Baltimore 2 weeks ago, that would qualify for
No
me.
question.
No one thought the Raiders were going to beat Baltimore in Baltimore, and they did.
Yeah.
That's the one I would have leaned on.
Mike, I assume you're pursuing the Twitter out there, and I'm wondering if we've seen any first offensive line groupings as they're warming up. How do you see the line shaping up with So probably in at left guard? What do you think that looks like left to right today?
Yeah, I have a feeling So's going to be in there. I have not seen any updates here yet, as I'm looking for any that I can find.
What would the option be? Leverett, maybe?
I mean, Leverett, yeah, he'd probably be the next guy in. But it'd be good if So can get. I mean, I'm not trying to tell you that I think it's going to be great. I don't really know how it's going to be with him, but he is the guy that they had in there for most of the summer, so they have some belief in him. I think the biggest question is just
who's at left
how much
tackle
can
today?
Wallace do, and does Jacobs have to supplement that? Does Jacobs even start? I mean, is Wallace kind of the reserve guy? like Paul said last week, does Leverett become maybe the 6th offensive lineman? I mean, I could see some of that based on what our guest said earlier in the show. Jennifer said that maybe they will try to get back to a little bit more of that 6th offensive lineman, but they couldn't really do it last week, and it's hard to see them being able to do it this week. With even thin depth.
And the game got out of hand a little bit last week. I think that might have taken the element out of it. Regardless of whether he starts or not, don't you think Wallace is going to be on some sort of a pitch count? They can't expect him to go wire to wire this week, can they?
If he's healthy enough to play, I would start him. If he's not, he's just an emergency guy. I agree with you, Matt.
Yeah, black and white.
He's not a better option than DeMontre Jacobs,
right?
To play if he were healthy.
Yeah.
I got to think he's not healthy.
No.
And then I do think on the other side, I think there needs to be some more consistency out of Big Mike. I think that they paid him.
That's fair.
David Andrews too.
He's their guy. He's their guy. I think they need to be able to look at that side of the line and say, here's 2 guys that we feel like we can run behind. We should be able to get positive yards behind these guys. Let's go and attack it right now.
Totally agree. Those two need to be better because you rely on them. They're the best too.
And let's see Layden Robinson start to make some strides. I mean, he's gotten some positive feedback throughout the first couple months that he's been here. But the wheels have to meet the road at some point where you keep telling us it's going to get better. He's been consistently in there. He's gotten a lot of reps. I mean, I don't know, probably about midway training camp, he kind of emerged. Having him in there for all these games, let's start to see something from him, a little bit more consistency, a little better communication along the line. I know David Andrews last week was dealing with some stuff, tough matchup, but it's another tough matchup today.
But Hargrave's out, as Paul mentioned at the top of the show, and I think that's a huge lift for the Patriots. Paul, I'm sorry, I don't know this. Do they move Bosa around the line of scrimmage, or is he a one-side guy?
I don't really know.
He'll go both sides.
He'll
go both sides. Yep.
Yeah,
they'll move him around a little bit, and I'm sure whoever's at left tackle is gonna see some of him for sure.
Yeah, I would leave him at Onwenu. If I'm the Niners, I like that matchup. My speed, athletic guy against the big guy who's kind of a guard playing tackle.
Yeah.
Whereas I'm not telling you that I know anything about Jacobs because I don't. DeMontre Jacobs.
He's just big.
Trey. Yeah, I mean that's all that Mayo could say about him. He's a big guy. I don't know what else. I don't know much about him. But, I just leave Leonard Floyd over there and have him do that. I don't know. To me, Nick Bosa is a guy that is going to need to be accounted for. Not really saying anything out of school here.
Interesting scouting report there, Paul.
That's a
block him.
I believe I think the Eagles may have just gotten a 2-point return on a PAT. That could be... could be significant in that game.
Red zone Paul added again.
30-16 Tampa, but they block an extra point here and return it.
Paul, if the Patriots' strength is Wallace and Big Mike, and Bosa's on the left side of the 49ers defensive line, do you still dial it up and say, let's go, let's just run it right at him? Your strength, the right side against Bosa, and run it right at Bosa?
I would run at Bosa, yes. I don't know what the Patriots' strength is, though. I don't want to be disrespectful.
With a banged-up offensive line, their right side appears to be you would think would be stronger than their left side.
But like Mike said, they're getting So back. That's their projected starter is back. You should be healthier, and with the other 4, you're missing the left tackle because you don't have one.
Right.
Yeah.
The other 4 guys, this is as good a situation as you on paper that you've had, right? Because So was starting over Michael Jordan. So you have So, Andrews, Robinson, and Onwenu. That's what you wanted to start with.
Yep. So there you go.
So to your point, Matt, line up, run the ball.
And let's see what happens. Okay. Marine Corps, we're going to take a break. We'll be back with more of the Patriots pregame show presented by Duncan right after this.
Without good blocking, your team's not going anywhere. Cisco blocks cyber attacks for customers around the world, including the entire Fortune 100 and the NFL. Because when the game is on the line, and it's always on the line, the NFL relies on Cisco.
It ain't my dad's razor, Dad.
Hey, watch it.
It's from Gillette Labs. This green bar releases trapped hairs from my face.
Game changer.
While the Flex, this contours to it. So the 5 blades can get virtually every hair in one stroke. For the ultimate Gillette shaving experience.
The best a man can get
is Gillette Labs.
By the time this Patriots fan is finished drinking his Pepsi, you'll be 15 seconds closer to game time. Patriots watching. Better with Pepsi.
You've got to watch your NFL team every Sunday, and Verizon's got you covered for all your team's out-of-market games every Sunday afternoon. Come on! From kickoff to sign-off, from first downs and touchdowns to turnovers and overturned plays.
After review, the pass was incomplete.
Let's go! This season, win every Sunday with Verizon. Get a great deal on NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV and a new phone. Excludes digital-only games. Terms and embargoes apply.
When someone accidentally threw away the school play costumes,
oh no!
Replacements were shipped with FedEx. And with picture proof of delivery, everyone could focus on the perfect opening night. FedEx, where now meets next. For residential delivery only.
You've got to watch your NFL team every Sunday, and Verizon's got you covered for all your team's out-of-market games every Sunday afternoon. Come on! From kickoff to sign-off, from first downs and touchdowns to turnovers and overturned plays.
After review, the pass was incomplete.
Let's go! This season, win every Sunday with Verizon. Get a great deal on NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV and a new phone. Excludes digital-only games. Terms and embargoes apply.
When someone accidentally threw away the school play costumes,
oh no!
Replacements were shipped with FedEx. And with picture proof of delivery, everyone could focus on the perfect opening night. FedEx, where now meets next. For residential delivery only.
You've got to watch your NFL team every Sunday, and Verizon's got you covered for all your team's out-of-market games every Sunday afternoon. Come on! From kickoff to sign-off, from first downs and touchdowns to turnovers and overturned plays.
After review, the pass was incomplete.
Let's go! This season, win every Sunday with Verizon. Get a great deal on NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV and a new phone. Excludes digital-only games. Terms and embargoes apply.
Join the conversation by calling into the TPX hotline at 855-PATS-500 or email the show at podcast@patriots.com. Now, live from our studios, here is Matt Smith.
And we welcome you back to Inside Gillette Stadium for the Patriots Pregame Show, fueled by Duncan. Don't forget the Patriots Pregame Show is brought to you by DraftKings. Stay tuned because you'll hear more about DraftKings and all it has to offer throughout the show. DraftKings, the crown is yours. You're also looking at pregame warm-ups from a very sunny Santa Clara out on the West Coast, where the Patriots will battle the San Francisco 49ers in a little less than an hour. A little in the distance there, you see Drake May warming up. I know fans will be interested to see that. And so maybe without further ado, as the 1 o'clock games are in full force, let's go to our over-unders, Matt.
It's time for this week's edition of Over-Unders.
First up, San Francisco 49er passing yards, specifically Brock Purdy. Purdy Brock, is 228.5. 228.5. Paul, you'll kick things off, please.
I'm going to take the over on Brock Purdy's 28.5. I think there's some big plays coming for the Niners today.
I think that's a good number. I think the 49ers, the run game is really what scares me. I feel like that's where the production would come. But I think 228 is low enough. I'm going to go over 2.
3 for 3 on the over for 228.5. Ramondre Stevenson rushing yards this week. DraftKings has that number at 52.5. 52.5 for Ramondre. Mike?
I like that. I'm gonna go over. I like Ramondre for a little bit of a bounce back week. I think he'll break 52.5.
I concur. Two on the over there, Paul.
I will take the under. I think this is going to be similar as last week, and the run game is not going to be able to continue to pound away. So I'll take the under.
Do you think there will be more of an emphasis on trying to pound it away, Paul?
Yep.
Just no success?
Well, they might have some success, but I think they're going to fall behind.
Okay. And then hence have to scrap the run game.
Correct.
Okay. Longest touchdown yards, 37.5 is the number here. I'll kick things off and go under. No big plays. Mike?
Yeah, I'm gonna go under 2. I think the trend will continue. Keep everything in front of you.
Yep. Paul?
I will take the over on that one. I think we'll get a big play.
Okay. I like the outlier, Paul. Total touchdowns for both teams, 4.5. Paul?
Carry the one.
Want to take your shoes off?
5 touchdowns. I'm going to take the under on that.
Mike?
Yeah. I'll go over on it. Why not? Let's get crazy.
Let's go under for myself as we switch to total punts. 9.5. In the golden age of punting, Mike.
I thought this was an exciting one.
That's a lot of punts. But as Paul informed us in the pregame show, punting has stayed the same. So I'm going to say under. A lot of long drives.
Guess how many times the Niners have punted this year?
I have no idea.
Just take a guess.
7.
3 games.
5.
Wow.
5.
Okay, so
what's your...
You're going to tell me to bury the under on this, Paul?
For the same reason I'm taking the under on the touchdowns, I'm taking the under on the punts.
Okay.
What'd you take, Mike?
I took the under.
Under here, Paul. I love the fact that you're keeping score over there, Paul. All right, and last...
Well, you have to, because
Matt
screws
can't?
it up every week.
Really? Oh, wow.
Every week.
All right, last but not least is a total score where the number is 41. And I'm going to choose to go under on 41.
I take the under also very, very slightly. I have a 27-13 final.
Yeah, I'm under 2. Same neighborhood as Paulie.
What's that, the under neighborhood?
No, the score.
Yeah. Well, I was wondering what
It's
the
like
neighborhood
score
was.
neighborhood.
All right. You're watching warm-ups going on in Santa Clara. I love that sidearm pass by Drake May, but maybe that's just me. I know that it's in vogue with Mahomes and maybe even Rodgers. They like to spin it like that.
Well, I think some of those quick screens, quick outs like that, that's how they want to throw them. I don't know why. Can't tell you, I have any scientific research as to why they do that, but a lot of quarterbacks throw that pass like that.
Because it's easier to get out, less chance of getting knocked down at the line of
I
scrimmage?
think it's a chance to throw it around a guy who might be in the way.
Okay, all right.
I think. Again, I've never necessarily talked about it with anyone, but I see a lot of quarterbacks throw that pass that way.
Yeah.
Quick, snap, ball, bang, it's out, and it's sidearm. Maybe it's quicker, but I also think it gives them an opportunity to maybe throw it around somebody.
It seems like that a lot in the summer with Drake.
Does it seem odd that this is just the second time that the Patriots have played at Levi Stadium?
I was there for the first one, actually, Matt.
Same.
Yeah, it was started raining on me. Luckily, I had my slicker. I was buried, but it was kind of a weird day. I remember it rained for a little while, and then the sun came out as we were walking out of the stadium. Yes, I am. Thank you. Remember a great
nice touch.
Tom Brady. One of the signature Tom Brady throws. I feel like on his highlights, him to Malcolm Mitchell.
I was just going to say,
throw.
who was the underrated sneaky Patriot in that game?
Yeah, just everybody around him, and he gunned it in there. But no, it was a great time out there. A lot of nice 49er fans. Had some good tailgates. So yeah, I miss
one of the few stadiums that I've never been in.
Yeah,
it's okay.
Yeah, it was fine.
It's okay.
It was I kind of isolated outside. I didn't know what I thought going in. It was in San Francisco, but a little bit of a drive outside. Of the
Makes
stadium.
Foxborough feel like Milton for crying out loud. Right, far away.
Yeah,
and I was looking this. That's really I think it's the only time Tom played there. Not there.
Yeah, I think you're right. You're right, Matt, because he was injured
California,
in 08.
Never played in Oakland.
They played there in 08.
Yeah. Never played in Oakland.
Yeah.
And played there once. That's a kind of an interesting...
Wait. Tom never played in Oakland?
In Oakland.
He played didn't he play in Oakland like in 02?
02? Maybe that was the only game they played in 02. That was a loss in 02.
Oh, yeah. That was a Monday night game.
Yep. Kevin Falk, kickoff return for a touchdown in that game.
Yeah. And I think Bruschi had an interception return for a touchdown on a ball that went off a guy's foot on the ground. Like the ball, literally the receiver's foot was on the ground.
Yeah.
And it just hit the foot, came up in the air,
shoelaces.
and Bruschi caught the deflection.
The original Julian Edelman.
My
ball.
bad on the Oakland 2002. But, I mean, you think about it, for all those years in the NFL that he played for the Patriots, only twice going back to the area where he grew up. That's kind of interesting. At least it's interesting to me. Podcast at patriots.com is how you can reach us via electronic mail. This in from Harry in Connecticut. What is your ideal Jacoby Brissett stat line that could possibly lead to a win today? Mine would be 17 for 25 for 210 and a touch.
Oh, I think it might need a little more than that. But, I mean, I'd love to see him throw like 3 touchdowns. Is that can I get crazy?
I would
Can I
say
see 300 yards and 3 touchdowns, no picks? What?
Yeah, I would say completion percentage like that, but 3 touchdowns. I agree with Mike. You got to get points if you're going to win.
They
the
haven't
game.
thrown for they haven't thrown for over 200 yards in 3 games, correct?
They averaged like 100.
Right.
Yeah, it's not strong stats.
Yeah. I mean, that's a nice stat line, but I think they're going to need more from him. They're going to need either more from him there or a monster rushing performance and a dominant time of possession performance to win the game.
Yeah, I mean, it's most likely if the Patriots are going to win, it's going to be a flawless performance by them, and arguably, they have to be able to throw the ball more than they have, even in when they did win in Week 1. So, you know what it should probably look like. I mean, the crazy thing would be if they were to win and it didn't look exactly like that. They overcame some mistakes. They made some big plays. They had a pick six themselves. Like those kind of plays are. I think the defense needs to force some turnovers too. I mean, I think that's a big problem when you're not getting a lot of good pass rush, a lot of, consistent pressure up the middle, forcing hurried throws. I mean, Brock Purdy doesn't make a lot of mistakes, so it's really going to be hard to take him off his game. He seems very comfortable in that offense. He is comfortable throwing it to any of his receivers and guys that catch the ball around him. So it's a really, really tough task today to get him off of his game and make him make mistakes.
And haven't mentioned this yet so far in the pregame show, but it's safe to say that in order for a Patriots victory today, San Francisco's got to play the role of co-conspirator, don't they?
Probably a little bit, for sure, and that's why I'm going to mention like a pick six kind of thing, a little bit of unexpected mistakes from Brock Purdy, those kind of things. Is Deebo Samuel a little rusty, and they punch the ball out from him? I mean, those are the kind of plays you're gonna need, I think.
Yeah, it's a tall task because I think a lot of the Niners, and I think when teams that are really talented are in trouble, they respond. In general, and it's not like a team that thinks it might be getting better. It's a team that expects to be playing in February. And when they're 1-2 at home against an inferior opponent, they generally come to play. And that's what I would expect today from San Francisco. It's not going to be easy. I agree with you guys. If it's going to happen, you're going to need some help, I think, from San Francisco. If it's a clean game from San Francisco, I don't know how many matchups you're lining up and winning.
No, and you'd hope that part of your fast start for the Patriots might include a slow start for the Niners and maybe some frustration from them. And, like, oh, man, like, what are we doing? We're at home, And even then, though, with the quality of offense that this team has, there's no lead that's going to be safe for the Patriots. They got to be ready to run it the whole, play well the whole game.
We talk a lot about spots, Paul. And I think earlier in the week, when we saw who might not be playing for San Francisco, that this guy might be out. This guy's hurt. They had this guy out last week, and we were thinking maybe they caught him in a good spot. I think this is a lousy spot for the Patriots. I think they're catching a team that is very talented, defending NFC champions, prideful team who are pissed that they've lost 2 games, and I think they're going to look to take that out on somebody.
Couldn't agree more. I think it's a terrible spot for the Patriots for the reasons that we just talked about. Like this is a team that wants to be in the picture, in the late playoff picture, and you can't go 1-3 and lose games to the Patriots and like that loss last week to the Rams was a terrible loss
giveaway.
For them.
Right. So, Mike, that being said, what is realistic for Gerard Mayo to expect from his troops today?
Fight.
Right.
I mean, I think that's the bottom line, to see a team that goes out there and doesn't beat themselves. I mean, look, it's one thing to say you have to execute the perfect, formula for victory, but it's also just like, we're not turning the ball over. We're not having stupid mistakes. Like, this is a very good 49ers team. There are plenty of scenarios I can imagine where the Patriots don't win this game, but you feel like, all right, they gave them more of a game than maybe people would have given them credit for. And they fought hard for all 60 minutes and, made some plays, showed some progress maybe in the passing game will be really nice to see. But I think at the end, maybe in the post-game show, we're going to be focusing on the Patriots, what they did well, how their season kind of is progressing, what they're building on, rather than hopefully it's not just San Francisco out there toying with them, doing what they want up and down the field. The Patriots kind of fold up the tent and then get ready to fly back cross country.
By the way, that's no means saying that there wasn't fight at the Jersey Meadowlands, when they played on Thursday. I think there was just too much bad football in there that they produced
Yeah.
to kind of overcome anything to even give yourself a chance or a puncher's chance to be a play away or something.
Yeah, I didn't think there was much fight.
Oh, really?
I mean, I'm not like I don't use the word quit and roll and like that kind of stuff. Like people throw that stuff around way too often, but they got outplayed on the first drive of the game and they got outplayed in the last drive of the game. There was nothing that changed. I thought for 60 minutes they got dominated. So I didn't think there was, like, to Mike's point, like, I don't want to see that today. If they're going to lose the game,
back.
Can there at least be periods of the game where you look like you're playing well? You look like you're better than you know what I'm saying. Like you have a good drive. Like Patriots had no drives in that game, not one.
Right.
And I don't think they had any real good defensive series in the game, where they just like went out and stopped them 3-and-out. Like, I would like to see a little bit better performance than that. The Jets, are in a dogfight with the Broncos, down 7-6. As the second, I think the fourth quarter is getting set to get underway there. Yeah, late third quarter. So it's not like you played against the Niners last week. The Jets are trying to figure out how to be a good team. And I didn't really think there was much. They didn't offer much there.
Rodgers challenged that Jets team this week. Let's see how we do with a little prosperity.
Yeah.
How are we going to feel about ourselves after we've won a couple games?
Yeah, he was funny though. I mean, he just says, we lose, it's all the same old Jets. We win, we're going to the Super Bowl. I mean, it's a tough. I mean, every team's got it tough, but that's a tough market, and he's well aware of. But you're seeing Bo Nix just leading them down the field again, scoring a touchdown.
I mean, they've given up about 30 yards of passing, and they're losing.
Yeah.
That's. I mean, I know I make fun of the fans that say this all the time, but that's Jets. This is like. When I saw the weather of that game this morning, I said to myself, that will be a tractor pull because that's what the Jets do.
Wasn't that an excuse, though, Paul, a little bit?
Yep, and that's what the Jets do. Anything to glom onto, to not have anything the way they want it. Yeah, absolutely.
We're closing in on a little over 30 minutes before kick in Santa Clara between the Patriots and the San Francisco 49ers. I want to get back to that in just as we're talking about what the expectations that Gerard Mayo has for his team. We talked about how the extra Monday practice was all about the Patriots. Is today's game kind of sort of the same thing? Like, they have a game plan offensively. They've got a game plan defensively and special teams. But is it a question to see, let's see what we got here. I want to see how my team responds. And it's less about, of course, you want to cover Deebo Samuel. But you want to compete against Deebo Samuel. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I mean,
the roster situation isn't a fair fight as it's constituted on paper.
No, and
they know that.
Yeah.
So let's go out there and see if we can show them something that maybe they didn't know about us.
No.
So just like, Mike, you can see like the steam come out of my ears.
No,
like,
you can't see that.
Why you're scoring down? Because it's fourth and goal from inside the 5, and instead of taking a field goal to tie a game, Jacksonville runs a quarterback draw, it gets stopped, you get no points. So why is scoring down? Well, the other team just marched the ball 80 yards down the field and got inside the 5-yard line. So I'm sorry if I'm not going to tell you, the defense has just caught up to the offenses. That you continue, Doug Peterson's one of those guys that doesn't like kicking field goals. You continue to leave points on the field. That's what happens.
Yeah.
That's why points are down.
Joe Flacco doing Joe Flacco
97-year-old Joe Flacco. They just dust the
That's his second touchdown, by the way.
It's 2 more than Anthony Richardson, by the way, but I digress.
What a funny. I mean, I used to hate Joe Flacco just because he was good with the Ravens, but now I kind of like.
He got a Zach Moss touchdown today.
He's a tremendous story, Joe Flacco. All right, Matt. Let's hit the Sunday six-pack, please.
This is the Sunday six-pack, so kick back and listen to my position. I'm itching to get the picks back. You better bring a big stack. Get it mixed, Jack. I came to win it, yeah, this is the Sunday six-pack.
All right, a quick perusal of the standings, Paul, shows that you and Deuce are in a tie under 500 at 7-10-1, and the new kid on the block is at 10-7-1.
Yeah.
That's just like...
You're winning the over-unders, too. You glossed over that.
You can blindfold anybody and just throw darts. That's what that tells you.
The host is dominating in both of our little competitions.
The 4 p.m. games, Sans...
Now, that never happened with Hardy.
I feel shame.
Sans, the Patriots, will start in Arizona, where Jaden Daniels and the 2-1 Commanders visit Kyle Murray and the Arizona Cardinals, where the Cardinals are 3.5-point favorites, Paul.
I like the Cardinals in this game. I really like what I saw from Jaden Daniels last week, and I think he has some some ability, and I'm really looking forward to seeing him continue to play. I think this is one of those kind of predictable, not a really good team, national spotlight, unbelievable performance. Everybody's patting him on the back.
Don't forget the short week.
Now it's a short week, and you go out to Arizona, and you're like, oh, we're quote-unquote supposed to win this one? Nah, I think the Cardinals will win.
Michael?
Yeah, no Cliff Kingsbury revenge game for me either. I'll take Arizona in this one.
Yeah, this one seems to be tailor-made to suggest that the Commanders will be feeling very good about themselves at 4 o'clock and maybe not so good about themselves at 7 o'clock. I like the Cardinals. Next, the defending Super Bowl Kansas City Chiefs champions looking to three-peat at 3-0 at a very banged-up Los Angeles Chargers team where Kansas City is a road favorite as giving 7, Mike.
Yeah, I'm not sure what Justin Herbert's doing, trying to play.
I believe. You're saying he should sit.
Absolutely.
I don't agree with that decision. I think you should protect him. It's a long season, but I'm gonna take KC in this one. I'm going with them until they lose.
They know how to win, Paul.
Yeah, I will take the Chiefs as well. Not only they're playing Herbert, which I don't know if that's the wisest course, but without Alton Slater, like his two tackles. I think Kansas City will keep it going.
And let's count me in as a big Chiefs win in that one as well. Last at 4 o'clock, we look at, this should be a terrific game, where the 1-2 Cleveland Browns go to Vegas to take on the 1-2 Vegas Raiders, where the Raiders are 2-point favorites. I'll start. Do you have to pick somebody in this game?
Yeah, unfortunately.
I guess you do, huh?
Unfortunately, yeah.
I don't think this team's very good. I don't think either of those teams are very good, but I'll go with the Browns, I guess, in an alleged upset, Mike.
I'm with you guys. This is a tough one. I don't remember what I picked on PU. I'm going to go with Las Vegas. I feel like they're going to be back and forth all year long. They're at home. I'll get them to pull out a victory.
Yeah, I agree that these are two teams that are struggling, but I think Cleveland has a lot more talent. I'll take the Browns.
Sunday Night Football. This is a good matchup, at least on paper, where the undefeated Buffalo Bills go to Baltimore as Baltimore tries to dig out of an 0-2 hole. They barely squeaked by in Dallas last week and held on. The Ravens are 2.5-point favorites at home against the Bills. Paul.
Yeah, I like Baltimore at home. I really love Buffalo. You guys know that. I've been mocking everybody, but you can't just roll and win every game. This would be a tall order for them. I think that the physicality of Baltimore, I think, will win out in this game tonight. Looking forward to catching the second half when we get home.
Yeah.
Be another red zone-esque performance for the postgame, though, Matt. So you got that to look forward. We'll watch a little of this game when we're doing the postgame.
Which is nice.
But there's no red zone at that point.
No, it's the game.
It's
the same.
It's all the same.
But I'll take Baltimore.
Deuce?
It's nice because there'll be only one game going on, and I can actually keep track of it. I'm like the supercomputer over there who could probably run down all the scoring of the
Scott
Indy
Hansen
game right
Jr.?
now.
Only
Senior.
accurately.
That should be. I think that should be Paul's job. I got a lot of respect for Baltimore. I think the Buffalo Bills looked awesome last week. I believe in Josh Allen right now. I'm going to go Buffalo.
I am with you until somebody says otherwise. I think the Bills are in it to win it. I like the Bills in that game. And then on Monday Night Football, no, Marine Corps, help me out here. Aren't there 2 Monday night games next week? We're just picking one of them this week?
Oh, snap.
Okay, just wanted to check. Huh? Okay, just wanted to know. Thank you.
We picked 6 games.
Got it. No problem. Love it. Monday Night Football, another barn burner where the Dolphins, minus Tua, the 1-2 Dolphins take on the 0-3 Tennessee Titans. Oof. Mike, you lead it off.
Miami by 1.
Miami by 1. Yeah, that's a tough one, man. I'm gonna go Titans on the road. If it was still Mike Vrabel there, I'd definitely be going Titans, but tough to pick. I'll go with Titans.
Paul?
I am gonna take Miami. We got
because it's not Tim Boyle.
Yeah, because that's exactly right. He knows me so well. Tim Boyle not playing, so I will take Miami.
I like Miami in a close game. I think this is a game Miami needs to win, so I like them. Do we have to pick the Patriots now, Matt? We will. All right. And last but not least, half hour or so until kickoff when the Patriots take on the San Francisco 49ers. The 1-2 Niners hosting the Patriots. As Paul mentioned, close to the top of the show. This is the biggest line on the board this week where the Niners are 10.5-point favorites. Michael.
I don't feel great about this one, guys. I'm going to take San Francisco. I'm going to lay the points. I think it's a really tall order for the Patriots. I think that San Francisco's angry. They're going to be humming. Their offense is going to be clicking now that it's got some of their pieces back. Just a lot to ask from the Patriots defense, and I just haven't seen enough from the offense to believe that they can keep pace. We'll see, but right now I got San Francisco 27-10.
Paul.
Yeah, I see a similar kind of game. I think I said 27-13, 30-13, something like that. I just think bad spot. We talked about it a lot. The Niners are going to have to come to play, and it would be a tall order. A couple of things working in the Patriots' favor. I believe they're 6-1 against the spread in the last 7 games as an underdog.
Yeah, so you got that going for them.
You flip it around. The Niners are 1-6. In similar situation in their last 7 games against the spread, period. Their last 7 games, period.
You waited nearly 2 hours to throw me with that information?
What information would have been good
changes
before
everything
the
for me, Paul.
You're not serious, right? Okay.
Not really.
Well, that's why I wait. That's why I wait hours to tell things that don't really have any relevance on the game that's actually being played today.
Right when we have 10 minutes left, that's the time to
follow
drop
the trends, idiot.
Okay.
Trends.
Do I have to pick a score? I'm not going to pick a score. And the other question I have is, can you win while losing? And I'd kind of like to see that.
You absolutely cannot.
Wishful thinking here. I'd like to see a competitive, hard-fought, back-to-basics, respectable game by the Patriots. I don't think they're going to win. I don't think they're going to cover whatever the number is. But I'm hoping here in the post-game show we're going to have a conversation that said that looks more like it. That looks more like it. They got outclassed. They got roster outclassed because the rosters aren't equitable. But let's see some fight. Let's see that they can hold their heads up when they get on the play.
And punch back, because you assume that San Francisco's going to punch them in
They're
the face
punch.
a couple times.
San Francisco's going to punch.
Having some counters. I mean, I thought in the Seattle game that was one of the things that it looked like all of a sudden Seattle was just going to roll, and New England showed a little bit of fight. I mean, obviously it didn't end up going their way down the end, but I need to see some of that punch back, as you said, Matt. I think maybe if we were still giving out the keys of the game, I think it might be yours today.
Okay, very good. We got a few minutes left before we sign off. Let's clear some of the phones in the electronic mail and go to Matthew in New Mexico next. Matthew, you're next on the Patriots Pregame Social, fueled by Duncan. Hello, Matthew.
Hi there, how's it going, guys? Real quick question. I'm watching the Colts game, and I'm just asking you, would you guys rather have Joe Flacco than Jacoby? And
No.
would the team look a little different or worse or the same?
No, it's the same. I would. Okay. I mean, you could give me Joe Flacco instead of Jacoby Brissett. That's fine, but it wouldn't look any different. Matter of fact, I think it might look worse because I think Flacco would have been sacked more often and had less ability to evade some of the pressure that Brissett has had. But no, I don't think it would have looked much different either way.
I mean, I think Indy.
All right.
Now, Joe Flacco's a far better NFL quarterback than Jacoby Brissett, like career-wise.
Yeah.
But not right now.
I think Indy line pretty well respected too, and Patriots has too much turnover right now.
All right, thank you very much. Love you, Paul. Have a good day.
Oh, thanks, Matthew.
Love you too.
Love it. Yeah,
Wow.
I mean, you could definitely.
No love for Mike or myself.
There
That's
were
okay.
a lot
I
of
won't take it personally.
Well, usually it goes the other way, like last week when the guy yelled at me. But there were a lot of different sort of journeyman type quarterbacks that were available, and they chose to go with Brissett, and that's fine. But I just don't necessarily think Joe Flacco would be one that I would have been overly interested in bringing in.
No.
Okay, Tamara Brown with a hockey assist at the least, with some late-breaking news from our own Evan Lazar, reporting from Santa Clara, that he didn't see Caden Wallace take any reps at left tackle in pregame warmups. It was all Trey Jacobs with the top unit. Wallace took a few reps with the backup O-line at right tackle, which would lead to what we believe is that Wallace would be your sub-sixth offensive lineman when the play calls for that.
If that. So
Fair.
yeah, good info from Evan and Tamara. It does seem like Trey Jacobs will make the third starting left tackle for the Patriots in 4 games.
And again, we could sit here and have another 2 hours on the
Is that 4 and 4? My apologies.
we could have another 2-hour pregame show. If you're starting
Lowe, Wallace, Jacobs.
4 and 4 games.
If you're starting your 4th left tackle in 4 games, that can't be what Scott Peters, AVP, and Gerard Mayo were asking for.
No, I mean this is Jacobs is the guy you picked up 3 weeks ago. Didn't spend camp with you, and it's I mean, it's one thing to like start off the year thin at tackle, and then another that you get a bunch of injuries at left tackle as well. So they're up against it at that position, and it's unfortunate because we spent so much time talking about it, and you hope that they could have, stabilized it, but there's no easy route. Draft the right guy, maybe the right guy gets hurt, so we'll see. They got to step up, and the guys who have been in there need to play better. Those guys have to. You can't have all 5 of the guys playing like it's their first time starting. We have one guy who's going to be starting for the first time. I guess City So is going to be in there too for his first start. So how does that left side of the line hold up? How do those guys communicate? I mean, last week I said at the top, you saw Jordan and Wallace having some trouble with the stunts. I don't even know if San Francisco really even needs to run the stunts. They've got horses that can get home just straight up.
We're winding down here. Some electronic mail at podcast@patriots.com. I can't understand who this person is, but he's saying, please stop the pick segments. They're horrible, and I don't understand the point. He says, and I'm thinking it's a he, I'd rather watch Paul watch the Red Zone. So 1 vote for Paul watching the Red Zone, Paul.
Fuck you. No more picks.
Wow. Okay. This is Joe emailing from Weymouth. Yes, I want to see Drake May play, but I want him to be a long-term success. Here you go, Paul. Whatever leads to that goal is good for me when he's ready and the team is ready, Paul. It's another one for you. Let's see him get some reps. For now, we aren't a Super Bowl team, so develop and get better. That is the push and pull through 3 games, knocking on the door 4th, that I think permeates the organization at this point in time. When is it time for him to play, and when will he play?
Just keep getting.
Well, if you're waiting for the team to be ready, when is that going to be?
It's not going to be this year, probably.
Well, I mean, is there any guarantees that he ever plays?
No.
That to me is completely irrelevant. Now, I can be on board with patience, and you want to make sure he knows what he's doing and he's fully prepared mentally, game plan, all the kinds of stuff that he's going to have to understand and know and deal with. I'm totally on board with that.
Yeah.
If they don't feel like he's ready to do that, then do not put him out there in a position where he's not able to protect himself. I don't mean physically. I mean mentally.
So the rub is, where does patience wind up letting him play?
I just don't think that the rest of the roster has anything to do with this.
Yeah.
It's all about Drake May, in my opinion.
It's just at a certain point, if he's not getting in, it's either, and maybe it could be both. It's a reflection on Drake May's development. It's a reflection on, are the coaches develop? I struggle to imagine a world where he doesn't play at all this year, and it's a positive reflection on the coaching staff and the player. It's
unless
he's got to get in there.
Unless they just rip off 10 wins in the next 15 weeks or something. No, I'm being serious. If something unforeseen happens and all of a sudden you catch fire and you become a really dangerous team and you start winning games, by all means, ride it out. Have this, because I think there's a lot to be gained. You want to go 10-7 or 11-6 with Jacoby Brissett? I think there's a lot to be gained by that.
Right.
For the culture in the locker room. Drake May learns about what it's like to sort of overcome early adversity and find a way to put that behind you and win games. Now you're potentially putting Drake May into a much better situation for the team.
So DraftKings does a nice job of providing us numbers for the over-unders and everything like that. Here's a little short-term question I ask of the both of you. Maybe not dissimilar to what happened last week on Thursday night at the Meadowlands. What are our chances of seeing Drake May come in today in a potential mop-up role?
I mean,
is that on the table? Do you think
strong to quite strong?
Yeah, of course.
So you're telling me you sort of expect a little bit of that. You could see that happening when
I
the
could
game
see
gets
that
out of
happening,
hand, and he gets another crack at his first snaps.
I could see that happening. Yeah,
I'm all for it. I mean, I think those are opportunities. Little tidbits here and there. For him just to get his feet wet, to just get the experience, being on another stadium, all those things. I love that he got in against the Jets. Just that's a place he's going to have to play a lot. He's going to have to win there. So, just to get his feet wet there. I know he's not going to be out to San Francisco a lot, but this is an excellent defense. It'd be a great experience to get him out there even for a few snaps.
There's a chance.
There is a chance, I promise.
Is that, as we've heard AVP and others talk about, the plan? Is that part of the plan? Get him a dozen or so reps, in games.
I think the plan is win the game.
Yeah.
No, that's not. No. They're not they're trying to get him ready to be the starter.
I'm saying if the game gets out of hand, is this part of it to let him get some action?
Oh, I think
before
he'll play.
He starts a game.
I think that's when you play your backup quarterback.
Okay.
When the game's out of hand. I don't think that's part of the Drake May development process necessarily. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think they want to get him ready to be the starter.
Yeah.
So not a part of the over-unders, Mike. Do we see Drake May play today?
Yes.
Paul, do we see Drake May play today?
I would say yes.
3 for 3. I agree. Well, we'll find out as we're about 20 minutes from kick in Santa Clara, where the 1-2 Patriots travel to take on the 1-2 defending NFC champion San Francisco 49ers. Tall task at hand for sure. We'll be back to wrap things all up and discuss and analyze and hear from you, hear from the coach, hear from the quarterback after the game. Thanks for watching and thanks for listening to the Patriots pregame show fueled by Duncan.
Thank you for downloading this podcast. Subscribe on Apple, Google Play, and everywhere else you listen. Like the show? Please rate and review us. Listener comments and ratings help keep us high in the podcast rankings so new listeners can find us. Be sure to check Patriots.com for more news and more podcasts.